What's dropping? This your boy live and direct in full effect after 832. Y'all already know how we do, man. This my boy live and direct with my boy Craig Smith after 662. Y'all already know how we do. If you don't, you bitches better get a goddamn clue. What's popping and what's dropping, brother Craig?
Man, not much, man. We finally gonna do the dedication show for my pops, which it was supposed to have been last Sunday, but I don't know what happened. Because his birthday was last Tuesday. He would have been 67. We're gonna talk about a few things, and hoping that the host of the show has his questions together.
Oh yeah.
We also gonna talk about yesterday's game. I think it's over and done with for Portland, and you know, and maybe a little NFL note. Gonna talk about a Philadelphia Eagle recently retired. So without further ado, what we're gonna talk about, Jimmy?
We're gonna start off with the NBA thing, and then we're gonna go on to your father's dedication because I think that's gonna be a little bit longer because we can just roll through the NBA stuff. So what's popping with your boy BG Lillard, as I call him? The nigga look just like BG stepson up in this motherfucker. BG Lillard has just been trash. Now he's been putting up productive numbers for an average player, but for a superstar baller like BG Lillard, man, and Steve Urkel McCollum, because Steve Urkel McCollum played a little bit better, but he ain't played much better. What's popping and what's dropping? Steve Urkel and BG up in this motherfucker, man.
They scared. They scared of Golden State, dog. You know, shout out to my boy Corey Wolf. I mean, he pulled up the history in 11. Well, this is now their 12th playoff meeting. Golden State has won 11-12 against them, and Lillard and McCollum are known to basically nut up against them. So, I mean, I don't know what's going on. I mean, now when I looked at parts of the game of it, I looked at it on my phone. Portland did the strategy I said that they should do. They went high-low on Golden State, which is pretty good. They did. Right. So, you know, and it was working and they were hanging in there. But I guess Golden State countered that high-low offense, you know, with the – and I've noticed they've been getting in – and I noticed a little bit yesterday they were doing something, Jimmy, what you said that they need to start doing. Scoring in transition. And they did that. So, I mean, I can say this is a wrap for Portland.
Yeah, because Portland didn't do what they needed to do from the jump. And then the person who surprised me more than anything is Meyers Leonard. And his game has progressed since he's been in college because when he went into college, he started out as a inside scorer. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Out of a little town out of Illinois, you know, in that four out offense that he ran at Illinois. And the NBA, he's been okay in the NBA, but ever since the new coach, the current coach at Portland came in, he's been more of a 3-point shooter, and he's developed a hell of a 3-point game since he's came to Portland. You know, so I shout out to Meyers Leonard. I think they might need to keep that dude for I think they need to offer him about $60 million contract if they haven't already done that with Meyers Leonard. I think you need to keep Meyers Leonard at least on the bench at bare minimum because he gives you some good minutes. But my disappointment had been BG and fucking Steve Urkel McCollum for the damn Portland Trailblazers, man. Or I should say trail faders, because that's what the fuck they doing. They fading away from fucking goddamn the Golden State Warriors. And surprisingly, they've only played in 3 playoff series, and Golden State have only lost 1 game to them. But most of the playoffs appearances that they have, they've never played them during the Run TMC era. They never played Trailblazers when they had arguably the best starting 5 in the NBA. You know what I'm saying, with Kersey and Clyde. Mm-hmm. They never played them when they had Bill Walton because they were on other sides of the bracket with the Golden State Warriors. You know, because during their best years, the Golden State Warriors, I mean not the Golden State, but the Portland's best years, they never played them because Bill Walton, they won a championship with Bill Walton and Lionel Hollins and a host of other guys. Their best years was in the late 70s and the 90s, from the early 90s to the end of the 90s, going into the 2000s, when they made those conference championships during those years, as well as going to the NBA Finals in 1990 and 1992. So with that being said, that stat is kind of deceptive because they lead the regular season series by 125 to 104. That is very deceptive because, you know what I'm saying, they haven't played, Golden State pretty much is closing in, closing in on that 125, 104 record. You know what I'm saying? So really it's more closer than what is indicated, because at one point in time, teams had to play each other 6 times a year before the expansion of the NBA teams and stuff like that. So that stat is very deceptive as well. So with that being said, it's over for Portland. Portland need to go home.
Yeah, and you also have to think. Go ahead.
No, I was finished. They just need to go home. They just need to Iri la casa, as we say in Spanish out here in Texas.
Yeah, and you also have to consider another fact here too, man. Portland has a history. I've noticed in several times that they have been, when they have been in the playoffs, like from the 90s and so forth, especially, let's not forget, from 19 years ago. I mean, I'll give them a pass on that. Portland has a history of when they get into the conference finals, even though because what was that, 1 year, I believe in the 91 season, Portland had the best record at 63-19, because they beat the shit out of somebody in the first round. Then they beat because they swept the first round against somebody, and then they turned around, they went 5 games. Look it up, Jimmy, on Wikipedia. The 91-90 Portland Trailblazers. And then when they played the Lakers, who basically was an aging Laker team, they basically just got their ass kicked. And Portland has a history of basically no showing in the conference finals when it matters the most. I've always said that the Toronto Raptors are the Kansas City Chiefs of the Eastern Conference. You gotta look at Portland now. Portland has been the equivalent of the Kansas City Chiefs in the Western Conference.
I agree. I totally agree with that, because Portland.
I felt that Portland team, when they made the finals, I felt they could have beat Detroit. I ain't talking that the 92 finals. Yeah, I knew they were gonna go 6 games against the Bulls. Okay, but I felt that Portland team was the better team against the Detroit Bad Boys, and they matched them up pound for pound. You had Jerome Kersey, Clifford Robinson, Buck Williams, Kevin Duckworth. Then you had Clyde the Glide Drexler and Terry Porter. They were fit. They got physical with them too now, but they should have won that finals that year.
Yeah, they easily should have won that. They should have easily won that 1990 finals against Detroit, because Detroit, even though they had depth just like they did, Portland was just a better team at that particular time. And, it's just they really nutted up. They had Rick Alderman as the head coach and stuff like that. But they really nutted up with that team, man, because they could have easily. And then Dragan Petrovic coming off the bench too, man. So, the Dragan Petrovic, prior to that car accident, he gave them good minutes for Portland as well. So that was no excuse for them to lose to Detroit. You know what I'm saying? So, in comparison. So it is what
True.
it is.
And you also have to consider Dragan Petrovic. If you're talking New Jersey Dragan Petrovic, that was a bad boy. That was a bad boy. And with him, Derek Coleman, and them other guys, they should have been. They had New Jersey Nets had some pretty damn good teams too. And then when they got into the playoffs, that in the '92 season, they almost put the Cleveland Cavaliers team out, but they fell short.
But yeah, with Dragan, he was coming off the bench and giving them hella 5 minutes though. When he came to Portland, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't the superstar per se, but you saw the potential was there and stuff like that. And
right,
he's in the Basketball Hall of Fame for one of that very reason, because mostly off his international career. But he would have been a great NBA player, because the dude had a mean crossover, and not too many guys out of Europe had the crossover dribbles that he had. You know what I'm saying? Because you had most of the guys was motion offense, offense, basketball oriented, but he had a good individual game. Like in that gold medal game, even though the USA blew them out, he gave Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan all they can handle in terms of scoring and shit like that. He was like the only dude that really just showed up in that game, in that gold medal game. You know what I'm saying? If you just want to keep it 100 and shit like that.
Yeah.
But he's in the Basketball Hall of Fame for a reason. And like I say, he gave Portland some beautiful minutes during that playoff run. You know what I'm saying? So it is come to that, man. But you know what I'm saying? Portland, I don't know what to say to them hoes. I mean, I don't know what to say to them, man, because they got the 3-point shooting. That's not that's hit or miss. But the problem with their 3-point shooting is, like I say, when you miss those hoes, like Houston, they're gonna run your ass in transition. And Steve Kerr, shout out to him, he's made the adjustments to see, okay, the 3-point game, we're not the best 3-point shooting in the world, but we still have a better percentage wise. You know what I'm saying? Because like in the playoffs, they're the best 3-point shooting in terms of playoff play. But Houston came in as the best 3-point shooting during the regular season. But what is happening is those long rebounds is causing Stephen Curry, like Curry's realizing, and John B. Thompson is realizing, hey, I don't really gotta shoot a lot of threes no more. We can just get in transition, have a little pull up chain. We can kill these hoes. And then Draymond Green, another issue Portland is having is Draymond Green has averaged 17 points a game. How the hell boxhead, ugly Doug West, a cross between Doug West and a broke-ass David Robinson looking at Draymond Green just so happened to fucking have that many points a game? Come on. Draymond Green has been...
And then he's averaged almost a triple-double in the series.
Oh, my goodness. This
is a power forward.
Not just that, he's a considerably undersized power forward, first of all. And then, two, he's not known as a scorer anyway. He's more like a defensive guy, defensive rebounding type guy. So what the fuck is going on with Portland letting Draymond, Doug West looking ass Green score that many goddamn points, man? That's what I'm trying to figure out, man.
Man, I don't know, brother, but that's shit. It's over with for Portland, though. But let me ask you this I had unanswered. We didn't get a chance to ask this question yesterday. It came from somebody in Houston. Rockets fan 5237 has a question for you, Jimmy. And this is the one we failed yesterday. As you and Craig had predicted about the Rockets, we're going to lose the series to Golden State anyway. There have been rumblings about some changes that are supposed to be made with this Houston team. Out of the changes, do you think Mike D'Antoni needs to either change his stubborn ways as far as how he coaches, as far as how his coaching style goes, or does he need to change addresses? That's harsh.
That's a catch-22 talking point right there, because if I'm the Rockets owner, because sometimes coaches are only as good as the general manager is, and sometimes coaches are who they are. You know, like Dennis Green said, they are who we say they are. You know what I'm saying? Something to that nature. So we are who they
depends on who we thought they were.
They are who they thought we were. So in this case, I'm gonna give Matt D'Antoni the benefit of the doubt. If he comes up short one more year, if I'm Fertitta, I'm unloading probably Chris Paul, unfortunately. And I'm a big Chris Paul fan, but Chris Paul is declining. You got a declining Chris Paul, not the Chris Paul in New Orleans or even in the Clippers. He's declining. I'm gonna unload Chris Paul, and I'm gonna hire a coach that pretty much runs the dribble drive up and down system. Because that's pretty much, from what I'm seeing, that's the best offense for them at this point. Or a good motion offense coach. I'm going to hire a good motion offense coach. Because one thing about Fertitta, because he also runs the University of Houston's athletic department. He has say-so in the University of Houston athletic department. whatever he say he's going to do, one thing I know about him based on research and what I know for a fact, he does what he say he's going to do. So at this point, I would give D'Antoni a fair. I believe I'm a big believer in giving people a fair chance to fuck up. And then if we go do the same shit over and over again, it's time to unload D'Antoni. And I think D'Antoni may need to hire a good defensive assistant, just like Steve Kerr. What's the guy's name? Mike Brown.
Mike Brown.
He has a lot of say so on the defensive end. He's stagnant offensively, Mike Brown, because he used that stupid ass motion offense. Good thing he didn't use that with Golden State during that run when he was the interim head coach. But he has say so.
No, he used that. Yeah, because when he was well, I'll put it like this. Well, I'm gonna get so you can get back to your point in a minute. The offense that Mike Brown used during his time with Cleveland that got him, that made him be the 2-time coach of the year for 2 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
It was a mix of the Princeton offense, and it was something different. But yeah, he was the defensive minded coach. But when you looked at it, them Cleveland teams he had were like in the top 5 offensively. Yeah, 1 year they were top 5 because because in his first year when he won coach of the year, their offense was in the top 5. Their defense was in the top 5. In the second year when he won coach of the year, offense and defense were, they were neck and neck at the top. So I know he tried to run that with his time with the Lakers, but that wasn't going. But yeah, back with your point with D'Antoni, I agree. I don't think if he don't get it done next year, it's time for him to change that zip code known as at home, enjoying retirement and enjoying his money and enjoying his years of life.
Exactly.
Because because mm-hmm. I mean, look at Don Nelson. Don Nelson walking around with hair just about as long as the Undertaker, and he's smoking weed.
Hell no, you a hoe for that one.
No, I will shit you not.
You for real though? I agree with you, but I do. You a hoe for that just by saying.
He walk around with hair just about as long as Undertaker's. With that long ass hair, and he said every now and then he'll blaze one up. He said he blazing one up, and he said he having all these and he's having some young up and coming coaches coming to him, because he lives in Hawaii now. So he's having high school. Don Nelson, yeah.
Oh, Don Nelson.
Who you thought I was talking about?
No, I thought you were talking about for D'Antoni, and then I saw you. You mentioned Don Nelson because I know old boy Spoelstra used the Nelly ball system, which consists of the cross between the motion and the running gun. But go ahead and finish your point, brother.
Yeah, and John, that's what Mike D'Antoni need to do. He need to enjoy life. I ain't saying D'Antoni need to smoke some weed. Enjoy life. If you got a family, man, you got a wife, stay your ass at home. Stay your ass out of coaching. Get your fucking defense. I agree with what Stephen A said. People gonna mention it. You don't like them talking about you need a defense and you want to tell people to shut the fuck up or whatever or whatnot. They telling the truth. He just need to get him a good guy that's a good person that's defensive minded, and maybe the Rockets will win some things. I do agree with the fact that they need to unload. They need to unload Chris Paul. I think they should re-sign guys like PJ Tucker. I know you're on the fence about Eric Gordon. I think they should keep him. Seriously, I think they should keep him. Or really, since we're on talk about that, hypothetically speaking, if I was him, I'd go after Anthony Davis.
Yeah, I agree. I would go after Anthony
and get rid of Clint Capella.
Get rid of Clint Capella. Totally agree. And then here's another guy you could possibly go after. You could go after Jimmy Butler because Jimmy Butler lives in Cypress, which is a suburb in Houston during the off season. He lives out here. Possibly you're not going to be able, because you don't have to worry about paying for him coming back down here like that. You can just sign him, go to his house and just sign him. And, you might have to unload Eric Gordon because you're not going to be able to pay for Eric Gordon and Jimmy Butler. But I'm saying I'm throwing out possibilities. Anthony Davis,
Now I can see
Gordon
it. Now I can see if you trade if Jimmy opts to resign with Philly, okay, then you got to keep going. But if Jimmy decides to come to Houston, yeah, you got to trade him to Philadelphia. But if I was Eric, I would want, if I was Eric, if Eric were to get traded, shout out to him, by the way. I try to go back down to New Orleans. Cause basically when he was playing under Alvin Gentry, that Alvin Gentry brought out more out of him. So I think he should go back down to New Orleans before he would go back to Philadelphia.
Well, not just that. With him, with Gordon. Gordon is more of a guy that come off the bench. Now they injected him in the starting lineup and put James Harden as the small forward, which I think that's a mistake. He's playing too small. That's another issue with
three guard. Yeah, the 3 guard. Yeah, D'Antoni doing the 3 guard, 2 forward lineup.
Yeah, so that's not going to work too often because that's how Golden State got all those offensive rebounds, and then you got Kevin Durant, who's basically a combo forward, small forward and shit like that. He's going to take advantage of that. So I think after this year, to answer the guy's question, after this year, if D'Antoni don't at least get to the NBA Finals or show you he can get to the NBA Finals, you got to get this dude up out of here, man. You got to get that dude up out of here and find somebody. I would go after Erik Spoelstra, to be honest with you, if I'm Fertitta, because Erik Spoelstra showed that he could win a title. He showed that he could make adjustments on his own and stuff like that. His system is a lot better than D'Antoni because he can mix it up between a half-court system and an up-and-down system. So you don't got to worry about a three-point shooting falling off. And let me get this clear. Let's get this clear. Kevin McHale had the Houston Rockets in the top 2 in three-point shooting every year he was the head coach. It was just he had that mishap during the beginning of the season. They had to let that fool go, and they had to get Bernie Trickerstaff's son, JB Trickerstaff, because that's what the fuck he is. He tricked all the owners into him being a head coach, which he should be assistant coach. He need to go back to college and become a coach before he goes to the NBA. That's what the hell, how garbage this motherfucker is and shit like that. So it is what it is with that, man.
Bernie JB Bickerstaff is garbage. I mean, because that same team, I'm gonna put it like this: that same team he had took over from Kevin McHale didn't have no business being a fucking A seed in the playoffs.
No excuse. And despite of them being a top 5 3-point shooting team, that's the crazy thing. He had a foundation. All he had to do was keep the offense, play a little bit better defense, and the boys was like, I think they were the 8th seed coming in, and they got put out in the first round. I mean, JB Trickerstaff, JB Trickerstaff is what he is, a Trickerstaff, man.
And again, that team that he took over from Kevin McHale, they had no business being on AC. And if Morley had to just work with McHale to give him time, they probably would have been a 4th seed at best. Because they had to tailor made a offense to that's when they had Dwight Howard. They had to tailor make that offense for him to accommodate him. So I mean, you can't fault Kevin McHale for that. But it is what it is. And as you say, it is what it is. It's in the past. So yeah, I kind of agree with the Rockets fan there, and with you on Jimmy. It's do or die for Mike D'Antoni.
Yeah, it should be a do or die year because LeBrick James in the LA Fakers, because that's what they name gonna be until they start playing a little bit better. This was a time for the Rockets to actually go all the way, and they failed to do it. So I'm gonna give them one more year. If the Houston Rockets don't do anything, then it's time to make changes. And I like the optimism of Tillman Fertitta, because Fertitta sees the problem. He said, we're going to kick their ass. And they was like, well, why Harden keep on effing up? Well, you got to think about it. He was like, Hakeem Olajuwon was 31 when he got his first championship. And he was an executive on that team. He got 2 rings with the Rockets as a member of the executive team. So he sees the issue. So I think it's going to be some major changes. I don't know if it'd be the coaching change. I don't know if it's going to be a player shuffle changes. But I'm saying to Fertitta right now, If Fertitta need to do one or two things, get a younger point guard or keep Chris Paul, but give him another year. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you make the mistake of trading him and not being able to replace him, you're gonna have the same problems you had with Patrick Beverly. You know what I'm saying? So I think Tillman Fertitta is gonna make the right moves. So we'll see about that, man.
Yep.
You got anything else you want to say before I move to the next topic?
No.
Okay. Now the Milwaukee Bucks play the Toronto Raptors today. I think the Milwaukee Bucks is gonna whoop that ass again because Toronto.
Yeah, it's over with for them.
The Toronto Raptors have not shown me that they can stop the 5 out, and not only he's mixing it up with the 5 out, he's going back to the traditional 4 out system that he learned from Greg Popovich. You know, which Greg Popovich studied. Coach K's version of the basically it's the Coach K's version of the motion offense. It's just got more players involved on the perimeter. But I think he's done a lot of mixing and matching. He's used the 4 and 5 out system. You know what I'm saying, with the screen rolls, right, with the little inside screen rolls and stuff like that. And the Toronto Raptors, aka the Toronto Trajectors, have not shown that they can do anything with Giannis or anybody on the Milwaukee Bucks starting lineup. So I feel like this is going to be over. It's going to be easy work for Giannis in the 6 guys that score in double figures. Malcolm Brogdon, if he keeps staying consistent, it's going to be a sweep. So I feel like today is going to be the beginning of the end. What is your take on this, Hope?
Agreed.
Is that all?
Agreed. Agreed. That's it.
Oh yeah, they
agreed. Agreed.
They finna.
But Toronto has shown, like I said, they have shown some promise. I mean, because what was that game 3 today, right? What was that? Game 1. That's, I think I mentioned on yesterday's show, Malcolm Brogdon outscored the Toronto bench by himself.
Yeah.
So if Toronto wants to stay in the series, like you said yesterday, the bench gonna have to step up big time. Because they ought to be ashamed. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. Malcolm Brogdon coming back from injury, scoring 15 off the bench. The red and he outscored Toronto's bench by 3.
Yeah, and Malcolm Brogdon is typically a starter, but I think what Budenholzer is actually doing is he's basically testing his leg out or whatever injury he's had, so he can prepare him for the championship game and stuff like that. So I think that's a great adjustment on the end of a Budenholzer by testing, see how good he is. Because Malcolm Brogdon, people talk about Giannis, people talk about Eric Bledsoe, but people sleep on Malcolm Brogdon because he got one of the probably the quietest 90-40, the 90-50-40 in NBA history, because everybody else is pretty much a Hall of Famer or going to be a Hall of Famer. But out of everybody who's in that company, he's probably has the quietest of everybody on this jump right there, man.
Yeah, he really is, and I think Milwaukee's general manager, that like that.
You went in and out, brother. You're going in.
He needs to
go. You went in and out.
Yeah, I was saying he needs to keep that Milwaukee's general manager needs to keep that nucleus.
I agree because they could compete for years to come and stuff like that. I think with this nucleus, if barring what Boston does and barring what Boston does in no out the way trades, they could get at least a chip out of this. You know what I'm saying, or be competitive for at least a good while. So I think I like what I see in Milwaukee, man. But hopefully they can keep the lost in Celtics home. You know what I'm saying, for years to come, man. But it is what it is, man. They got them this year. We'll see what they do in the future with this particular team.
Agreed. Fucking agree.
Did you have any other sports topic before we go to the main topic? Because I know you said something about the sports.
Chris Long.
Chris Long. Okay.
Howie Long's son, he announced his retirement yesterday via Instagram. So, two-time Super Bowl champion. He won one with the Patriots, and then he turned around, went to the Eagles. He won one with them. He's also in that same year. He also was the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. And with that last name, Howie raised some very good sons, man. And Chris earned my respect all doing that thing with the Malcolm Jenkins thing. And when he told Malcolm, he said, I understand that, why, about like with the protesting and all that other little stuff. He understood it. And, he had a very stellar career and stuff like that. But, like Jimmy said, he believes it's a CT issue that is causing him to retire. So, hey, wish for nothing more the best. He's doing the right thing. He's retiring. He's 34 years old. He's got a good organization that makes sure that certain parts of Africa has clean water. I forgot the name of their organization is, but because they said that is one of his most successful organizations. They believe they provide certain solutions and everything with the clean water and electricity. I got to get everything. So, retired yesterday, and best wishes to him. And y'all know he has his brother that's still in the league too, named Jake. So, what's your thoughts on that, Jimmy?
I think he's making making the right decision. So he won't bash his brain even worse than he did. He had a great career with the Rams. His prime years was pretty much with the Rams and shit like that. So I'm very proud of the guy for having a decent NFL career, 70 sacks, 2-time Pro Bowler, 2-time Super Bowl champion. What else you gonna play for? I don't know if he put up Hall of Fame numbers, but that could be argued because you could say if had he not retired, he probably would have got to the 100 sack club. You know what I'm saying? So I think he's making the right decision. When you're on the defensive end, you take more punishment than what people realize. So I think, right. He already got brothers who are very successful in the NFL. You know what I'm saying? The Long family is just plain out successful. And then, he's played the maximum amount of years to get the NFL pension ever since they had a new collective bargaining agreement, just like other sports organizations as well. So he's got nothing to worry about. I'm pretty sure his dad's taking care of him, as well as Howie Jr. And stuff like that. So he has nothing to worry about. He's gonna be straight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's straight. And Howie, hey, shit. Howie's successful his own self. You see him on TV. You thought Charles Barkley would be blunt about a lot of stuff. Howie be quietly blunt.
Yeah, and
about a lot of things. And that's one thing I like about Howie.
Yeah, and one thing
he'll point out the flaws.
And one thing I respect about Chris is when his Rams got to fighting with his brother, he grabbed the guy. He was like, "Hey, that's my brother, man. Hey, I know I'm your teammate, but hey, that's still my brother now." He didn't jump in it. He kind of like grabbed him. He's like, "Hey, don't be
because he did start his career with the Rams, right?
Yeah, he started his career with the Rams, and his brother is a twin, from what I understand, and he grabbed him. He grabbed the guy. He didn't beat him up or nothing like that, but he saw they had a confrontation with his brother. He like grabbed him. He respectfully grabbed him. He's like, "Hey, that's still my brother. Hell shit. I know he did something." So I give him respect for that. You know what I'm saying? He didn't get involved any more than he had to, but it's by simply grabbing him. You know what I'm saying? And like I say, it's good to have people that have great NFL families that are doing well. All of those guys have made it to the NFL. And like I say, Howie Jr., who's the youngest of all the guys, he's an exec. You know what I'm saying? So he has nothing to worry about, man. He has nothing to worry about. And shout out to him enjoy your retirement, smoke you a few blunts in legalized states, go to get you a blunt, what I'm saying, smoke you a little blunt, man, and enjoy retirement. Drink you a Corona, bro. So it is what it is. Anyway, this is the part of the show that I wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to make sure everything is situated in terms of this. You know what I'm saying? But we wanted to dedicate this show to Craig Smith Sr. You know what I'm saying? He born in Chicago, born and grew up in Chicago, ended up moving to Chicago and living most of his adult life in Chicago. I definitely wanted to get on that. You know what I'm saying? We forgot to get on it during his birthday, his actual birthday. And you know what I'm saying? I want him to talk about his father on this particular subject and stuff like that. So without further ado, man, when was your father born? I'm not sure how exactly he was, but when was your father born? And how was it? How was his childhood from your understanding and from your point of view?
Okay. Well, also, if anybody's joining us in the chat, you can feel free to ask questions as well, comment, ask questions. Pops was born, I'll call him either Pops or Smitty. So if you hear two different names, I'm talking about the same person. Pops was born on May 14th, 1952. And he was the last of my grandmother, Ann Smith, and my grandfather, Lee Wesley Smith's children. He has an older sister who's still living now. She'll be 71 this year. And his brother, Wesley, was born in 1950. So, and I'm gonna talk about him in a minute. I know Jimmy said he got some questions in regards to that. But to my understanding, man, Pops, his childhood was like pretty basic. His father stood. His father, as I say, was like he was like the wrestler. He was built like he was the Sid Vicious built almost. No lie, because I saw a picture of him and he was about, because my grandfather was 6. He still is 6. My grandfather was 6'7", and he was 6'7", and a solid guy. I forgot what he said. He had worked at. Pops didn't get into detail about where he worked. And my grandmother was more the stay-at-home dude, because growing up back in the 50s, I always call it the high heel housewife era.
Yeah.
The man worked, woman stayed at home, help provide for the children. But from what Pops had told me, man, his childhood, it was pretty basic and stuff like that. They both moms and pops grandma and granddad made sure him nor his brother sister never went without. But it was established, when he got older, hey, when you start getting older, you're on your own. So and I think around about this time, my sister, he said she was like good, perfect health and everything. She started experiencing bouts of epilepsy and stuff like that. So, and as of now, as I talk about it now, from what I found out, she's doing well and talking shit like a normal person, like normal. So, and with all that medication that's been in her, they straightened they got all that different shit out there, kind of fucked up a little bit. But she's back on the norm, man. She ain't talking slurring. She's not, like a lot of people think she was slow. She's not. So she was been battling epilepsy for a while. But as Pops told me, like as he got older, he was in the streets a little bit, got in some trouble. And one day here at the house, I found a little arrest record he had. And it wasn't nothing major. He got caught. He got caught driving with. He was 17 years old. He got caught driving with no driver's license, and the car wasn't insured. And come to find out, it was his old man's car. So let's just say, Granddaddy Lee gave Pops a piece of his mind, and took a piece of his ass too. So and I think you know, as far as high school went, as far as school went, you know, he said he was A and B student, but you know, he was A and B student at times. He wasn't more of a book kind of dude. He just did shit on the fly. And I was getting mixed stories about his high school history. I think he told me one time he dropped out. Then when I asked him again, he's old, he said I got kicked out, and then he said he was graduated. So I came up and asked him a question, and during his sober times, I said, Pops, which one is it? I said, you can't. I said, you had to be one or the other. You couldn't be all three. So he told me, he said, yeah, I graduated. He said, when he said at one point out, he said, I was kicked out. He said, I was kicked out a month before my graduation. He said, because a teacher had hit me across the face with a book. And he said, then in turn, he said, and I got up and I popped the teacher with the chair.
Damn.
He said, and people, this is in the time when racial tensions were still kind of on the up and up. And he said, and this teacher here was a black teacher, and it was a black teacher that didn't know any better. So he said, when the teacher hit him across the face in the book, like telling him to shut up, speak when spoken to, Pop said, next thing he know, he got up, took the wooden chair, and he said he gave him a good one. He popped him dead. He popped that dude upside his head one time. So he did graduate. He was kicked out, but you know, fortunately he was able to graduate. So I can say he you know, Pops, he didn't live a hard life as a child. You know, he had to be humble. He told me, he said, you know, Granddad Lee humbled him on a lot of things and stuff like that. You know, taught him to hold right from wrong and whatever, you know, not do this, not do that. But you know, Granddad, you know, he said he said Granddad Lee was tough on him at times. He said, however, he loved him. That was first and foremost. So
Okay. How did Chicago, a major city, differ from the South, in the words of your father, from what you understood that he talked about? Because I know, you know, Chicago is highly connected to Mississippi, Memphis, primarily Memphis, some cases, Birmingham, Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, basically the tri-state area. They're basically connected, you know, to the tri-state area. So how did Chicago different from the major cities in the South? How did it differ from the cities in the South? I should add.
Well, opportunity. And it's funny you mentioned that because on his family side, with my grandmother's side, the Delane family, the Delane family were pretty famous in the little small town of York, Alabama. Mm-hmm. So, and put it like this, York is a small town that's just about as big as put it like this, it's about as half as big as South Haven. And you know, he learned some little country other things and stuff like that because it vastly different from a lot of cities. So, because he said like when he grew up in the summers, they would spend the times down and on the Delane Road in Cuba, York, Alabama. And to my understanding, I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna get to your question in a minute, but to my understanding, I remember what he was telling me. Even white cops respected his family because of their last name. You know, because they were, you know, the white people were pretty cool with them. And that last name, maiden name, it meant something because, you know, it was just certain parts of that road it was a big ass road with nothing but Delane Road. You couldn't go down. You couldn't fuck with them. So it was already established, like with people in York and Cuba with the cops. Hey, everybody come fuck with everybody in Delane Road, turn them back around. So, you know, it wasn't, mind you, it wasn't like what you see in the film, like, you know, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or something like that. It was more like if you started shit with either one of his family members, you got your ass fucked up and then you got fucked up by the cops. So more like you grew up, like growing up in the era, like if you cussed, you know, if you got the 3 ass whoopings growing up, you know, during that time by the neighbor, your moms and your pops for doing something wrong or cursing like that. That's how it was. But Chicago, it did differ because him and his brother, they had opportunities, to work. Now I can't say, a lot of people say that I'm lazy, and if you tell Jimmy J Smooth that about me, Jimmy J Smooth read your ass to Riot Act. But that was one thing I could say about my father, my uncle, man. They never went without a job. They had a hustle, but they never went without a job. And he said Chicago was real different. It was, you had your little prejudices here and there. You had one part, you had your north side, you had the north, the east, and the west and the south. So and he spent most of his time growing up on the west side. That's where he grew up at because he attended John Marshall High School. If it's still, I believe it's still up there. If not, it's probably something else. But he said it was entirely different, because he said during that time the South was still stuck in his ways, but it was just like, and the way I can equate it, it was like, like Chicago in the South. I can equate it to like about the fact with the U.S. going to war with Japan, but the U.S. but the U.S. and Japan are trading partners. Certain cities in the South at the time were like conduits of trade opportunities. What Chicago was a conduit for the South. People got tired of being behind in the South. They quickly moved up north. And that's where he met my mom. My mom's originally born and raised in Memphis. She originally was born in Memphis, raised in Memphis for a while. Then she moved up to Chicago. And then I'll tell her story in a minute. It's just a brief bio. My mom had to move back to Memphis when her mom died. My grandmother died at the age of 40 of natural causes. So, but he met my mom years later. That's gonna be a story by it. That's a different story by itself. So, yeah, he said that to answer your question, he said that Chicago basically was like a conduit for people in the South. When people got tired of the South, they brung their ass on right back up. They brung their ass up there. So
let me ask you this one question. Him being from the West Side, did he know any of Isaiah Thomas's older brothers? Because, of course, Isaiah Thomas is the youngest of the 12 children of Mrs. Thomas, Mama Thomas's kids. Did he know any of his brothers? Because I know his brothers was like gangsters and pimps. And from my understanding about Isaiah Thomas's life, his brothers were the ones, that money that they were getting from illegal activity got him in the private schools up in Chicago. So did he know any of his family? You know what I'm saying? With him being from the West Side.
He didn't personally know him, but it's funny you mentioned that him and his brother were real close to somebody. Were real close to an NFL legend before he passed away. God rest his soul. And I'm gonna unveil that in a minute. Him and my Uncle Wesley, they did know a few of them, but they didn't get to know them, because like in passing, they would see them like, hey, what's up, all this and that, But Pops and my Uncle Wesley were real close to NFL Hall of Famer Darryl Stingley.
Darryl Stingley, okay, he was close to,
yeah, and when who's that? And they said when they was watching that game, and they said when Jack Tatum did what he did to Darryl, man, that hurt them, bro, because they said they knew Darryl Stingley. They knew Darryl Stingley was the man, dog, up there, because they went to school with him and everything, and they were cool. And when he made it, I think Darryl got on out. Darryl got on out, went to college, and I think at the time after Pops had graduated high school, this is the time he went and joined the Navy. And but he knew some of them, but some of Isaiah's his brothers in passing, like he knew who they was, but didn't get to know them personally. But he knew him and his brother knew Darryl Stingley.
Okay,
they were cool. So so we like I said, my pops had a pretty interesting life. He knew Darryl Stingley, and whatever year that was when Darryl Stingley got paralyzed, man, that really took that really took it to them, man. They were shit. They because he said he was more my uncle was more pissed off about it than anything. Then they said a lot of folks wanted to kill. And I'm gonna go and say this here, kill is the wrong choice of words. They wanted to do a little. Folks up there in Chicago, in the shop, wanted to do a little something to Jack Tatum after that. Let's just put it like that, because he never apologized for the incident.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing for Jack Tatum is he got both of his legs amputated. I don't know if he's still living. Both of his legs was amputated. He never apologized to him, and an apology would have been good and stuff like that. But I know, he had 3 older brothers that was about that life. I mean, 3 young that was about that life. Daryl Stingley's brothers. I'm pretty sure your dad knew who his brothers was. You know?
Yeah, so
I'm pretty sure you like because Daryl Stingley, you know, he being a Chicago John Marshall guy, people don't talk about his brothers. So I believe I definitely believe you when you said that his brothers wanted to do something to him, because them brothers ran the streets out there up on the west side.
Oh, they weren't the only ones. No, but his brother, okay, Daryl's brothers weren't the only ones that wanted to do something to him.
Yeah.
Let's put it like that.
Yeah. You know, so yeah, it is what it is when it comes to that. So your dad was in the Navy. Did he go to? He went in Vietnam? Am I correct?
Yep. And I'm gonna tell you a story about that. He told me. Go ahead with your question, but I'm gonna tell you what he really told me. What they all went over there for. What the actual war was really about. But go ahead with your question.
Okay. Him saying this is the white man's war. Now I heard different variations of the Vietnam War, because you know I grew up in an era where people either went to the Vietnam War or they had a sibling going to the Vietnam War, because the era that we was raised in, I'm talking about me and Craig's era, or the people that we was raised by, they pretty much, like I say, they had a sibling, or they pretty much either had a sibling or they had a connection to the Vietnam War. So my question to you is this: what was in his own words, why did he say the Vietnam War was a white man's war? And how close had he been close to death in Vietnam as well? You know what I'm saying? This is a 2-part question. You know what I'm saying? Why did he say this was a white man's war, and was he very close? How close to death he got? Because I know several people that that I knew that end up getting that Vietnam check that was very close to death, which is why they were able to obtain that check. But go ahead and answer those questions.
Okay. First question first. Well, he wasn't the only one that said that. Everybody said that. Even white people said the shit. So he was not the only one that said that. You know, back then, you never got a whole real clear truth as to why the Vietnam War was what it is. It was first and foremost, and I done my history on it, because sometimes, even shout out to him, the governor, Jesse Ventura, he said he was over there, but I don't think Pops was over there at the time. He was over there though, but that war was really, it was meaningless to begin with. Exactly. because when you think about it, because my Pops seen it all, dog. He lived, you know, at the time, because he was 14 years old. Martin Luther King got killed. He was what year was Kennedy got killed? 68, 69. I think he had said
November of 63. That's the exact time that he got killed. I don't know the exact date, but I know it was right around Thanksgiving time that he got killed. It was right around that time.
Okay, he was 11 years old when Kennedy got killed, and he told me he remembered watching that on television. And instead of them figuring out, instead of Lyndon B. Johnson, I think that was Kennedy's replacement, instead of them worrying about, it was something that's supposed to be going on where Kennedy in actuality was going to vote against not sending the troops over to the Vietnam War, because it wasn't the US's war to begin with. So, but instead, Johnson talked about it anyway. And I'm gonna find a clip for you on that about what Jesse Ventura was talking about, the real reason why they went over there. But It had something because it went now. It was the truth was revealed years later that Vietnam was a good farming bed for cotton.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cotton, you name it. There was a lot of things. There's the U.S. wanted to monopolize the trade around about that time. So it was more. That's why he said it was a white man's war to begin with, because it was all in service. Everybody said it, and like I said, even white people even said this. It was all in service of the white man. They basically went over there to war for cotton and some other shit. Now, the second question I'm gonna answer, he said he was never close to death, but he said he didn't seen his share of death. He said he walking around people, I'm finna get graphic here. And he wasn't fucked up by it, until years later. He seen people get heads blown off. He seen people get torn apart by bullets. Name it, it happened.
Yes.
He said that stuff. He said stuff right there is, stuff he'll remember to the day he died. He said, so it was a fucked up war. So, and he said in order to cleanse himself, I don't know how long because he said he came back home and I believe it was 73 or 74. Because he said he stayed abroad for about 6 hours. For 6 hours, he said for about 6 months he stayed over. He lived over in Singapore for a while before he had to come back home. He said, yeah, he said he lived over in Singapore, and then he went and then over in Hong Kong because he didn't want to come back home because he didn't want to come back home fucked up right away. He wanted to cleanse himself from that shit.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So he said he was not close to death, but funny you did ask that because me growing up, he was close to that, but it wasn't war related. I'm gonna dwell on that. But he said he's seen his share of death.
Yeah, because I heard people the description they said. I had an old school partner that I worked with in the Bell Lot said he got so scared to where one, he didn't call his parents, and the Red Cross he got reprimanded for not calling his parents. And that's the easiest way if you're in the military, whether you want to go or whether you're not. Even though I don't recommend going to the military, but that's the easiest way to get reprimanded when you don't talk to your parents. Usually you're one step from committing suicide. And then he said he got so scared in Vietnam that he literally shitted on himself on the battlefield because of shell shock. A lot of guys went through that. He thought he was going to be, they was going to get that call. And, he was like, man, when he went into Vietnam, he just started bussing. He was like, he didn't think about it. He didn't think two seconds about it. He just started bussing on people. And he had the Red Cross called him and he was like, man, he got reprimanded because he wouldn't talk to his parents because he thought he was going to die at some point. But for him, he ended up coming home. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just that's just a good thing that he wasn't even close to death, because some of the people I talked to, they was right on the borderline of death. You know what I'm saying? In terms of that particular war. And then also Vietnam also owned a lot of rubies because they had the most rubies. That part of Southeast Asia. That part of Southeast Asia has the most rubies outside of Africa in the world. What a lot of people don't know. And ruby is more valuable than a diamond. If you're a jewelry expert, it's highly more valuable than a diamond. And they're one of the biggest imports of rubies in the world. But the thing is, they could not bomb Vietnam like they wanted to with Japan because of the awkwardness of that country, and they would have been bombing into China as well as other places because Vietnam is as big as some of these states out here. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it's as big as the state of California, if you just want to be particularly honest with you, because it's so densely populated and it's so isolated. So they had to go to a whole nother strategy, and unfortunately for the United States, they had to go to jungle warfare. in that particular thing, and that was not their strongest points as far as that. Did he automatically, when he went into the military, the Navy, to be exact, did they just send him straight to Vietnam, or did they do any basic training before he go to Vietnam? Because I know with the draft, from what I understand about the draft, I could be wrong. You know what I'm saying? You're a military expert. I know they can, from what I understand, if there is a war, they can just send you straight out there if it's a draft, from what I understand. So did they train him, or did they train him? And another question I wanted to ask you is, did he stay after he came back home from Vietnam? Did he stay in the military? And what his reasons for that, for staying and not staying, or not staying?
Well, let me answer your second question first. No, he didn't stay. He had done his time because he had did that. Because I think he said he signed up with the he was with the Navy. He signed up with the Navy for 2 years, and you know he did a 2-year stint with the Navy, and he honored the rest of his contract out. He sat the rest of his contract out. But you know, on that situation, you know, but then and there, you know, because like I said, Pops, he told me bits and pieces of, but he sat the rest of his contract out after he came home. And yeah, he enlisted himself. Cause you know, it wasn't because I don't know how many years it was around about the time. I know he only did like he did like 2 years. He did a little training. He had some SEALs training incorporated. And he just said that training there, man, he said he said the Hell Week and all through that training, he said you barely got some sleep. He said many hours of sleep he had was about like an hour. And he said they really didn't want you to have that.
Shit.
Yeah, so
you're on the battlefield.
Huh?
So I'm saying you're on the battlefield. So yeah, you're gonna have very minimal sleep, and you're gonna be in shell shock a lot of times.
Well, on the battlefield, he was up. You know, they you know, he stayed up. But you know, but I'm talking about like he said when he did his training. When he did his training, he said the most amount of hours he got during training Hell Week was the hour. And then when they kind of was trying to leave, when he said, you know, you got to have some of the ones that like to not leave motherfuckers alone. He said the most hours of sleep he had was about like a day and a half worth. That was it, because he said that training there was so fucking demanding at that time. But yeah, they trained him, and he said when they got the call, they went with some little, he was part of some little platoon that was on there that, you know, they went in, handled their business, and got out, and you know they did what they had to do.
Most definitely, man. And it's fortunate that he was able to come out alive, because we lost a lot of people in that particular war. How was it when he left the military? How was his life when he left the military? In his words, when he with what he told you, how was it? How was it in his words?
They viewed him as a killer when he got back home. Because he said around about that time, he said, you know, when people getting discharged from him, they find out you fought in Nam. A lot of jobs didn't want to hire you. You know, like the big stores that was up there in Chicago, Saks Fifth Avenue, Shaw's Furniture, and Sears. And he would later work 2 jobs at the time I came around. He worked for Zenith as well, Zenith Television, because he was the one that would install the parts and fix the televisions on the assembly line. And he said life for him, he said it was just kind of was like, you know, when he was like in his early 20s, I think he said he had just turned 21 when he got back. He was just like, damn, you know, what the fuck I do? You know, it's not my fault they sent us over there. You know, but you know, like I said, but the way they, you know, he was viewed as a killer because he went over there to fight the quote unquote white man's war. But he said, you know, he said with him coming back, staying over there abroad, like I said, Hong Kong and Singapore, he was cleansing himself from all that death that he saw. He was cleansing himself from all that shit. because he already knew when he got back, you know, it was time for him to adjust, you know, it was time for him to adjust to the real world. And it quick. It didn't take him long to get reacquainted back, like with his family, mainly with his brother, who had kind of grown jealous of him.
Wow.
With jealous of him a little bit because Pops took advantage of a lot of the opportunities of a lot of things that his brother didn't.
Wow.
Because his brother wanted to run the streets and stuff like that, and years later they had to talk about it. And I'm pretty sure you got some questions about my uncle, because there were times, there was a couple of times, man, my uncle had to put Pops on Front Street when I was born. About setting his priorities together. My dad told a good story about that one.
Mm-hmm. And I'm definitely gonna get to that one.
Huh?
I'm definitely gonna get to that one. So your uncle was his only brother, or how many brothers did he have, to be exact?
Just one, and that was him.
Okay. Mm-hmm. His brother was the oldest of the family, or was he like just the oldest brother?
The oldest brother. He was the middle. Wesley was the middle child because he was born in 1950, and he would have been 69 this year.
Okay.
So
with Uncle Wesley, because we mentioned about the older brother, younger brother dynamic. Describe that older brother, younger brother dynamic between Uncle Wesley and Mr. Craig Sr. Was it the typical older brother, younger brother relationship? And tell me about some of the conflicts they had as well. That's a two-part question as well.
That's a good question there, man. From what I gotta think about this one. I'm not gonna lie. What was the first question? How was the dynamic?
How was it? The typical older brother, younger brother dynamic?
Yeah, it was. Little brother had problems with big brother, and big problems. And big brother had problems with little brother. My Uncle Wes, man, he did his thing. He was he was kind of like, he was like the family version of Ric Flair. Okay. I'm being funny. He had a lot, Wesley had a lot of taste, but see, he had a lot of taste in older women. Okay. Like, to my understanding, I think I said it on the last show when you talked about the older brother dynamic. I think it was the show before last week. Before this past Saturday. I wasn't the first grandchild. A woman he was dating at the time by the name of Hazel had a child by the name of Leslie. And Leslie, I think Leslie was somewhere born between the early 70s. So I can go ahead and say Leslie probably would have been between in her mid to late 40s if she would be alive. But she had died. Leslie had died of either it was Leslie, Lindsay, whatever her name was. I'm going with Leslie, more the former than the latter. Leslie had died of crib death, and then later his baby mama had died from mysterious circumstances. And it was just like, whoa. And he just like, okay. But he started dating older women and shit, man. And like he was, let me see, because at one point, Pops told this story about he dated a woman that was like 48 years old and he was 32. My uncle was like 32 going on 33. And my grandfather told him, he said, you can't have it. He said, man, what make you think you're going to be able to have some children with her? And she already got children. Everything got children. It's probably that's grown and almost close to your age. That ain't going to work. And my Uncle Wesley had some questionable choices of women, dog. He always get them ones that be drinking, talking shit, and be drunk, and be talking shit. Mom's told me a story about he chokeslammed somebody for getting up in his face.
Shit.
Yeah. It was ruled self-defense.
Damn, he chokeslammed.
It was ruled self-defense though. My Uncle West was 6. Now, my Uncle West, he was 6'3". My Uncle West was 6'3". And sports-wise, Wesley played baseball. Wesley was more of a baseball, football type dude. Pops was a track and football type dude. And later on, and it was one of your questions, life for him, he almost made the Cincinnati Bengals.
I remember
and, unfortunately, he almost made the Cincinnati Bengal team. Paul Brown was the player, and Pops told me he said, I remember Coach Brown told me, he said, Smitty was the best player that I hated to cut. He had to cut.
Wow.
Because his position would have been wide. His position would have been wide receiver. He would have been a 5'9" wide receiver.
Uh-huh.
So, and but if he was going to use him on defense, he was going to use him as a nickel back. Wow. But to answer your second, but their dynamic, was tiff and tat. It was pretty good. When I was little, I didn't see too many bad things from them. But now, with the second part of your question, what was your second question?
Damn, I forgot about that mug. Because I asked it, was it the typical younger brother? I forgot about that jump, but it'll come back to me, man. So in comparison, who would be the most successful between the and if you're in the chat room, please remind me of that if you anybody listening, because I'm sure somebody's listening. But who was the most successful between the two brothers and stuff like that? From your point of view, who in terms of who accomplished more in terms of their life? Who accomplished the most between between your uncle Wesley and your father Craig Sr., Mr. Craig Sr. That is.
Pops.
Okay.
He didn't come, but it was later on because I'm gonna tell you this quick story. My Uncle West had to get him a go come to Jesus meeting on some things too. Cause Wesley, he was gonna return his life. He was gonna return his life around for the better. I guess when I was born, he treated me like I was like his own son, even though I was his nephew. And one time, man, Pops had left the house and he came home with no money. And from what my grandmama to what my late grandmother told me, said that Moms was telling her what was going on. So said she had sent my Uncle West to go find Pops. He knew exactly where Pops was, because sometimes Pops claimed he was good at knowing how to get ghosts. But the old place is, the stuff you're looking for is the last place where you look. But in Uncle West's case, the people you look for would be at the places you don't think not to look. So exactly. He found this man he found this man at whatever his pay was. He found this man at a crap game, and he had whatever his pay and shit was. He was getting ready to blow all that shit. So Pops was about to roll the dice. And from what my grandma said, so anyway, make a long story short, said Uncle West had found that man, and Pops was like drunk as fuck and told him, he said, man, this is my role. He said, he said, and he told him about the dudes. He said, nigga, they padded the dice. They're gonna send your ass home broke. Come on here. So from what it was, my Uncle West gave Pops a come to Jesus motherfucking meeting, told him, man, he said, hey, look, you got something that I lost years ago, and that's called a family responsibility. He said, man, you need to be a fucking, Pops had told me the story, and Grandmama did too. And said that, make a long story short, my Uncle West told Pops, hey, you need to be a motherfucking man, dude, and take care of your family and leave these motherfucking streets alone. He said, because that's what I'm getting ready to do. Yeah, I'm gonna be out in the street a little bit, but I ain't finna be out in all the time if I have responsibility. Because he started dating this chick that was, younger than him. Anita was like 26 when he met her. Saying he was in his late 30s. So yeah, my Uncle West did right. And I'm gonna say this: Anita was fine as fuck. Bro. Woo. Ooh, I mean, she light skinned shit, and yeah, she got drunk and crazy too. But she wasn't. But she didn't get her ass choke slammed. She knew when not. She knew when not what buttons not to push my Uncle Wesley, man. And and they were perfect together.
And
But huh?
And I wanted to add something to that as well. One thing I can respect about the women that was born before the 70s is a lot of the women knew what time it was. When you dated an older man, you knew not to F around with the older men from back in the day. When you're dating a guy like 15, 20 years younger than you, women back then, knew what time it was. You knew not to mess with them. Even some of the women that was born in after 70, they knew when they dealt with the dude before that was born before that 1970 timeline, that ain't the dude to mess with. But please continue, brother.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I was giving a compliment because shit, hey, Anita was fine as hell, man. I don't know if she's alive now, but when my uncle got and then more on that, I mean, man, she took it hard. My uncle got killed, man. She really did because she had a little interesting theory about that I'm gonna share, and I inclined to agree with everybody else was. But Pop, little brother had to be put in line by Uncle West, man. A lot of times, just told him, man, hey, you need to stay the fuck out the street. You got a family, because she ain't shit out here. He told him, basically told his ass stay out the streets, and then in turn, I think Pops had kind of like got on him about, because he said that my uncle used to steal from him at times, and he would know about it. But they didn't, at one point, like I said, at one point in time, they didn't get along, they didn't talk for a minute. And when they got older, and when I came into the picture, stuff like that, and my Uncle West was turning over not a completely whole new leaf, but just turning over a new leaf, so to speak, cutting back on shit he used to do. I say he didn't do drugs or whatever like this and that. But I knew one thing though. They both like their old style beer. That was up in Chicago.
Oh yeah, man.
Who is now and old style is now property of Budweiser.
Yes, most definitely.
Hurt my heart when I heard that shit.
Man. With your Uncle Wesley, did he get into the before you respond? Did he actually get into the pimping? Because that's what it sounds like your Uncle Wesley did. Because back in the day, for the people that's listening, Chicago pimping was as lucrative as the drug game. What a lot of people don't realize. Well, Midwest pimping anyway. So was your dad was pimping? Was he a numbers game? And
you mean my uncle?
Your uncle. I'm talking about your uncle. Your uncle, because again, for the listeners, pimping was as lucrative as the drug game of the 80s. And you had a lot of guys that were millionaires from pimping, which is why they made it illegal for black people. Because a lot of black people, particularly from Chicago, historically speaking, Iceberg Slim is from Chicago. Just to name a few, not Pip and Kim, but Bishop Magic Don, one out of the west side of Chicago, from what I understand. That lucrative, it was very lucrative. Even when they made it illegal, you had a lot of pimps from the west side and the south side of Chicago making hella bread. This is before the drug game even took over in black society, because at that time, that when the pimp game was lucrative, I'll say from the early the 1800s going to the 1970s. The drug game didn't really come into major play into Chicago till the 1975. So my question is, was he a numbers runner, which pretty much started the lottery / casino game, or was he pimping? What kind of streets what kind of thing he was running in the street? Was he running in the pimp game, the numbers game? Please explain that to the audience here.
Well, he didn't like none of that shit. The pimping shit.
Okay.
No.
All right. Okay.
My Uncle West worked it. He worked a regular mom and pop Monday through Friday job. And I think he was a delivery man for Sears.
Okay.
So You know, because Sears is pretty big. Yeah, because he worked. He was a delivery man. So
Okay.
sometimes because there were times he would work Monday through Friday, and there were other times he would work Monday through Thursday. But no, you know, he was getting his money from working, but he did do like the little lottos and shit. You know, he'll give people like, hey, give them these numbers for the day and what this and that is, and then he'll give them a little, you know, and then he would. And the one thing he would never do, he would never let motherfuckers come to his house. In regards to that,
Smart
that
shit. Smart shit.
that was some smart shit. And my Uncle Wes is a Virgo, and Virgos are very smart. And that's one thing. And see, and that was one thing I did pick up from my Uncle Wes when I was young. I was about 3 or 4. Never let no, because he always had. And I'm gonna tell you another little fun tidbit about my Uncle Wesley. He had a soft spot for cats. And he was a cat. He was a dog cat lover. He had a soft spot for cats. And the names with the cats that he would have, they would be pertaining to cards. Like he had a cat named Jack. He had 2 of them. One of them he had 2. One of them was named Jack, and the other was King. King and Jack. They were 2 male cats. And the last cat that he had, it was a black cat by the name of Lucky, because that was the last cat he took in. But he did the numbers, and he never let nobody come to his house when it was time to collect. Yeah. He would have someone meet him somewhere.
Yeah. And speaking of that, I know some guys that if they taught you the numbers game and you let somebody come to the house, what they would do, the person that was mentoring you would get somebody to rob you just to let you know, shit, I taught you better than that, goddammit. And did Uncle Wesley ever mention something like that? Because from my understanding, because, you know, Memphis is very close connected to Chicago. Did that ever happen to him, or he was just smart enough to not let nobody?
He was one trait I did get. You know, you always got to stay a step ahead. He was always steps ahead of everybody. Mm-hmm. That was just something he just came up with on his own.
Wow. And that's rare. Speaking of that, because somebody had to teach you, it was and to be a natural street hustler, that's very rare, especially in Chicago.
Because he had said, from what I found out, he had learned from my pops. He had learned that by watching how it worked, and he did it.
Exactly. Wow.
He watched from afar. So even though I have said that I don't like street niggas, my Uncle Wes, you know, first, my Uncle Wes was a street nigga, but he was an intelligent one.
Oh yeah.
And he wasn't doing, and you know, and I'm gonna say this here, you know, these street niggas that's today, they go out and do more fuck shit. He didn't do, you know, he was an intelligent street nigga. I mean, he knew where his priorities lied first and foremost. His priorities lied at home.
Yeah.
And if he was doing his business in street business at the house, he kept it on the low. Like, just say, for example, if you won a certain amount of money from the numbers or whatnot, hey, Jimmy won this or that, he gonna send somebody he know, say, hey, if you see or he'll call you and say, hey, meet so and so down meet so and so at I'll just say something, for example, like Burger King. Hey, meet so and so at Burger King. They got something for you. You're gonna look for him with a black jacket on, black jacket and a red hat or something like that. He got something for you. And if you meet him down there, pick your shit up, you gone. That's it. That's how you handle his business. But you know,
or your brown paper sack.
Yeah, or your brown paper sack. But the way Wesley did it, he took like 2 little, like, you know, I call them the beer can bags, paper sacks.
Yeah.
The way he did it. Our pops told me all this shit. Said the way he did it, he said he saw him do it one time. He said the way he would do it, like with the money, he would put that stack of money in one and then take the other sack and put it in the other. Take that shit up and give it to the guy. Make sure you get this. Tell Jimmy to call me if he got it. If he, he didn't get it from you, we got a problem.
Oh yeah. Oh
But
yeah.
they said one thing. What now? Uncle Wes, he made his statements. He didn't physically hurt nobody or nothing like that. His statements were with words, and
Wow.
that's how he was. His statement was with words. Now, if he felt the need, he had to whoop your ass. If he had the need, he had to whoop your ass. He was gonna whoop your ass. Cause Pop said he saw my Uncle Wes getting a couple beer fights. Man, he said he beat the. Said, dude, Uncle Wes is minding his business, like drinking a beer or something, and said he bust a beer bottle side dude's head, and then turn around and get ready to cut the man. Man, you better take, like no. So he warned you with word. He warned your ass with words. That was it. But he was a cool guy though, man. I mean, and I learned my art craft from him. And he was also a good artist. So I learned my art craft, by watching him. He was a hell of an artist, man. He did charcoal. One time I seen him, I mean, when I was little, he was painting. He did a painting.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But when he got, I think, more on that in a minute, 'cause I know you got some more questions.
Finish your thought first. I wanted you to finish your thought first.
Yeah, because I wanted to talk about the day he got killed. He got killed right after the Bears won the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. A lot of the guys in the neighborhood knew it was planned by somebody, because what was led to believe it was this. Wesley and Juanita were going strong, and Wesley decided that he was gonna go ahead, get a family thing a go, give it another try. This woman he used to deal with in the past, it came back. It was trying to come back in his life and was trying to see if he was willing to give her a second chance. He emphatically told her no. He did, but he was polite at first, but she was being assistant. So he emphatically told her no, because, and from what they were saying, the girl, whatever the girl's name was, and everybody on that side of the block knew who she was a well-renowned shit starter. She was one of them. She was one of those fuck girls, man, that if she didn't get her way with you, she found a way to fuck you over, and got a way to keep the heat off her. You got a way to keep the heat off her ass. She was a classic fuck girl. So, and then from what they were saying, I remember Anita was telling Pops about it, because because years later, because Anita knew the way to the house, and she said at times, and at the time I was 7 going on 8. And because moms believe in that old rule, like when the grown folks talk, you don't need to be in the room. You don't need to be in the room. I remember, but I remember listening. I remember Anita said that she had a feeling she was being followed several days by somebody, and she had told my uncle about it. So, and then she wasn't the only one that had that feeling. So a couple of guys he knew in the neighborhood had told him, said, man, we kept seeing this, kept seeing whatever name was. She kept coming back and forth to your house, kind of like scoping the scene. And said when I walked up, said she had some old strange looking dude up in the car. And then when I asked, said what, we said, like, what you keep coming around here for? Don't worry, and they spared off. So Anita, I see you saying Juanita. Anita had the feeling she was being followed. So I guess they really, and this was and it had to be really planned, because one day, I think he said, because Anita said she had went to work, because she was living with Wesley at the time. You know, she's back and forth living, you know, with her apartment and then living with him. Because,
Right.
you know, because at the time they were getting ready, they were going to go ahead and go and do the damn thing, go to the courthouse, get married, had it all planned. Because Anita had just turned, she was 20. Anita just turned 20. She was 30 around about this time. Yeah, she just turned 30. So she went to work and said, because she remember, she said, I told Wes, I said, hey, yeah, when I get off work, say I'm gonna come over and you come over, holler at you, make sure you're okay. He's like, all right. So if she got off work, she saw the fire and all the other little shit, because then it was on the news and said they had that man in the body bag, and it was a closed casket funeral because he was unrecognizable. And from what the detectives were saying, they said that they smelled some type of fluid in the house, because the first thing they did they checked to see if the stove was disconnected with the gas. Stove connection was still on. The stove connection was still on. What caught my pops' attention was the fact that his bedroom door was padlocked.
Wow.
It was padlocked in a way, kind of like you put like some, whatever it is, kind of like you put some glue and like some little shit where he couldn't open the door in time. And then they're gonna try to say that the man was he went to sleep with a cigarette in his mouth. And everybody knew damn well my uncle didn't smoke while he was in the bed. If he did, he smoked before he went to bed. And then he would stay up 2 to 3 years, 2 to 3 hours, you know, before he went on the bed, did what he had to do. Sometimes if he would either sleep in the bed or he slept on the couch. So they said they found the man in the bed. Said it looked like he had like some like pantyhose tied around his wrist. He somehow got free, something like shit like that. And they couldn't open it. He couldn't open the door. And they said it took the fire department with the axe to get that man out of there. So I believe that woman and whoever she was with at the time, ain't no belief to it. It was a straight up murder. You know, they murdered my uncle.
I think so too. Just based off of what you're telling me,
Yeah,
because yeah,
and
just
you
based
know,
off. Yeah.
and my pops had believed it because he something told him. He said, "I'm going back to the apartment." He said, "I got a feeling." He said, "I got another feeling why." He said, "I know she did it." He said, "But I got another." He said, "But I also got a feeling what else they were coming after." So, he had a secret compartment in his room that nobody know about but him. Pops left out of there with it was like 3 stacks of cash, three roll stacks of cash. Pops heard him, got that shit. And then there was a cat that was following. That was my Uncle Wes's cat, Lucky. And he went ahead and got Lucky and brought her back home. That was all he left. And the amount of cash that he left was somewhere in between, like I say, it was around about like $4,500.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Pops said just so that was what my Uncle Wes had left. So he was like, damn. And I really don't think and my pops, I don't think he was really the same after that, you know,
Yeah.
because I started knowing as a child, I started to know some changes with him because, you know, in the later years he had stopped. He felt spending time with me was not wasn't a priority anymore. It was meaningless to him. It was trivial. So it was more like a necessity.
Okay.
So
Uh,
yeah, go ahead.
oh man, that's yeah.
And let me apologize to the viewers. We don't mean to make you all sad on this story because most of my
No,
life
but you
stories intertwine in this either. Most of my life stories intertwine with this as well because there's going to be a lesson in here.
no, but
You
that's your
know,
story. The way I look at it is that's
right?
your story. That's your that's pretty much what's making you who you are. Circumstances can either make you who you are or make you worse than who you are. So the way I look at it, man, is it is what it is when it comes to that, and that's definitely an unfortunate situation for uh, Uncle Wesley in that particular situation as well, man. And your Uncle Wesley was a Chicago Bears fan. What kind of football fan or basketball fan he was?
Uh, he was a I think basketball. He was basketball. He was a Lakers fan.
Okay.
Now football, yeah, he had, he rooted for the hometown Bears and that, but I think as far as baseball went, he was a Cubs fan.
Cubs. Wow. Well, he's from the West Side, so anybody from the South Side is a Red Sox,
White Sox fan.
White Sox fan, and then anybody from the North or the West is going to be a Cubs fan. You know what I'm saying? And I'm pretty sure he would have loved every minute of seeing the Cubs finally win it after 100+ years of failing, epic failing, I should say. When it comes
oh man, yes.
Yeah, so definitely rest in peace to Uncle Wesley, man. Definitely rest in peace to him. Another question I wanted to ask you. I mean, what made your dad change outside of your uncle's death? What was some? Well, I should say I should answer it this way. What were some changes you saw on him in terms of after Uncle Wesley died? That's the question.
He was well through 86. I mean, well, he did stay at home at times. We would go out, like on Saturdays. I noticed whereas he was home more on most Saturdays and stuff like that. From the time of 88, 88 to the time we moved here to Memphis. He was home. He was at home less because when he couldn't find a stable job, he started working as an auto detailer for a guy. I'll tell you who. I'll just call him. I'll say by a guy by the name of Archie. Okay, he worked as an auto detailer, and he also ran certain other errands for Archie as well. I'm not gonna get into that, with respect to him, but Archie would pay him cash money, and shit, he got a lot of bread. Pops got a lot of bread, and I noticed like a lot of times, man, he would never come home. Like if he got paid on a Friday, I didn't see his ass till Tuesday with no money, and he knew bills and shit had to be paid. He knew a refrigerator had to be kept full.
Yeah.
He was homeless. He started that was the precursor of him being like I said, whereas my Uncle West was more of the smart street nigga. Pops was just the fuck street nigga, the fuck boy type street nigga. Okay, he started becoming that. He was out in the streets more than he was with his family.
Right.
So, and like I said, and then I really kind of noticed how much, and was this 87? 87, I turned 9. He took me out for my birthday, and we went to this place called the Coffee Pot. He was more concerned about, and I kind of noticed the little deadbeat activity, if you can say it so many words about what he was, so many lines like ways like that.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he took me out for my birthday. We had fun. I mean, he took me out. I had my decorum was not for a 9-year-old. Yeah, I ate a big ass double cheeseburger with steak fries, and I had a chocolate shake, and I ate all that shit. And he had bought me. I remember he had told me, "Get what you want, get your toy, whatever." So I told him, I said, "Well, what about this?" It was one of those put together model cars that you could just set up like for a collector. You couldn't play with it or anything. It was ones that you had to put together. So bought that, and he was more concerned about, instead of him spending time with his son, he was more concerned about a fucking poker game. I was like, okay. And there were times, I mean, you know, mom's in the same boat. I mean, sometimes, a lot of people say you ain't got no business being disappointed in your parents. I mean, my pops disappointed me a whole lot. Yeah, I started. He started. Like I said, the change I did notice. He started becoming more and more disappointing.
Uh,
He would disappoint me and let me down a whole lot.
right.
And it was like he didn't care. The old saying, like as you say, as we both say, it was more like, oh, well, I'll let you down. Oh, I don't get to spend time with you. Well, hey, it is what it is. That was the vibe he gave me. And then soon transferred on to my mom's. And I was more disappointed with her than anything. I was like, okay. There were times that, he would, like one time, like in the summers. Now summers in Chicago do get hot, people. Don't
Yes.
don't let don't let it fool you. It gets hot just like in the South.
Yes, it does. They've
There
had
was one there was one time, man. We were we were on the block. We were the only ones that didn't have any lights on. And then if you talk loud, then I would hear this stupid shit. Shh, be quiet. The lights off. I ain't got that was some stupid shit. And then plus the way I was raised, it was some sheer unreasonable stupidity with that. Just some unreasonable stupid ways with when it came with my parents, man. So um sometimes they didn't get with the times. Still to this day, I love my moms and stuff. But sometimes she's not hip on the times on a lot of stuff. And people and with times and through time, people change their ways. I changed my ways. Like you look at all these phone companies like Samsung, they change with the times almost every other month or every
right.
year by coming out with a Galaxy One. Then about 2 months later, they got a Galaxy One S, or like the new phone now, the Galaxy 10. You know,
Yes, sir.
I changed with the times. Some people didn't, and it was times, as Pops got older, he refused to get with the times on a lot of shit. But I noticed, he had started spending more time. He started spending less and less time at home and more time out in the streets than anything.
Yeah.
And then it was like at times, he had, because like, um, he also enveloped he was lazy, because like my mom's uncle was gonna hook him up with a job where he was working at a Canfield, the Canfield soft drink company. Okay, he didn't even go to it.
Wow.
You know,
Wow. Wow.
so a lot of things. Ever since my uncle died, I mean, it was just like with Pops. It was just more like a one huge. It went from being okay to being just one huge disappointment one huge disappointment right after the other.
So you would say his uncle played a factor in him like giving up on life because sometimes when you lose an older brother, especially at that age, and I'm not making excuses for his fuckery. Let's please note I'm not making
Mm-hmm.
excuses for anybody's fuckery. But you would say that one of the reasons why he did that was, you know what I'm saying, he allowed the death of his older sibling affected him. Would that be correct in that assessment?
Yeah, and then he did. Then he would later admit that he was, and he said some parts of ways. When he was growing up, he was out in the streets most of the time as well. I'm talking about my pops. He, that, he was in and out of the streets as well. So yeah, it's just that, and among other things. And be honest, I just think he really didn't want to have any responsibility, because like I said, for the record, I told you on Let's Draw on something, my mom's disabled. She's blind.
Wow.
Now, and just because she's blind, And you know, if you see pictures of her with glasses on, let me tell you something. Don't ask me no stupid ass question about, well, she blind, why she got glasses on. I'm gonna tell you this, and this is my answer. Ask her, and then come back and talk to me.
Now let me ask you this. I'm gonna ask you this one question about that particular situation. How long she been blind, or she's always been blind? Is that's my question there.
Uh, right after I was born.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, so
Yeah, right after I was blunt. Right after I was born.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, bro.
Yeah,
I'm really sorry to hear that.
yeah.
That
But hey,
situation.
had she had her sight, I mean, she probably would have been a district sales manager somewhere for like Sears or whoever. Cause see, that's what she always wanted to do. And you know, she admitted she never had the desire to go to college.
Yeah, you pretty much not trying to put your business out there, but you pretty much need to be there with moms.
Yeah.
Okay. So, because I actually asked you, like, I actually told you several times, even when you were married, I'm like, you probably just need to move to Texas,
Mm-hmm.
just to assure that you have a good job. But now that I heard that, yeah, you need to stay out there, or at least bring her. If you do come to Texas, bring her with you, because if she want to go, because sometimes when you live in Memphis, you're very grounded in Memphis, and like I say, Memphis is one of those cities you retire in. It ain't a city you go
Mm-hmm.
when you're even at his age, at our age, you don't come. You pretty much don't want to be living out there. You pretty much want to be there when you're retired. You ain't got nothing else to do, Or it's good during the first 4 years of your college town, but I wouldn't suggest that either. So it is what it is when it comes to that. With your father, what made him move to Memphis? My question to that is, what made him move to Memphis?
Well, you mean what made us move to Memphis?
Oh, well,
Uh,
he was the breadwinner of the family, so pretty much whatever decision is going to go down, it's going to be the decision that's going to go down. But what made the family move to Memphis? I mean, what made y'all come to that decision?
well, it was my mother's father who I would not classify him as a grandfather. Um, Cause dude, I don't want to speak ill of the dead. I'm trying to be nice. Um, everything I'm put like this. Everything that my mom told me how he was, I saw for myself.
Uh huh.
It was because he was saying he needed some help moving. He was this talking about he was sick and all other was which yeah, in which in fact, yeah, he was because his kidneys had began to shut down. Because he died in 98. And you know, my mom and her dad and her pops they didn't see eye to eye on a lot of stuff. He was never there for her
Uh
because when my grandmother died, when her mom died, uh, she had to move down there with him. He really didn't. And be honest with you, when I found out later, you know, he really didn't want her down there with him because you know he had remarried. But her stepmom was glad to have her up there. And then that's when she moved up, you know, and she kind of saw the writing on the wall with him because, you know, he was making her feel uncomfortable and all this and that. And, you know, she just decided, say, you know what? She said about time she about four, because she graduated from High Park High in 71.
Okay.
So let's see, 71, 70, 69, 66. She moved up to Chicago in 65. And she moved back to Chicago in 65. But what made us move, man? You got an echo going on.
Do I?
Yeah, or something. And I don't hear it now. Okay. But what made us move up there? What made us move here to Memphis? There go again. Um, it was him. It was her. It was my mom's father lying and shit. And talking about we got a nice big house and got nice houses all prepared for you, man. When we came in, let's just say mom said she wanted to move back. She, yeah, you know, sadly, we made the best out of a bad situation. So, now I'll admit, I was mad about that.
Wow.
And in the South, and as I learned at the South, I never seen, and I'm gonna say this here, when I first moved here in the South, I never seen so many Jerry curl wearing ass niggas in my life. Shit, their hair was so wet, bro. You can use their hair as a mop. They can mop an entire apartment complex, and there's as much Jerry curl juice these niggas had. Like, damn.
And you moved in the early 90s?
Yeah, I moved in 1990. I was 11 going on 12 and was trying to find a school. They wanted to put my ass back because it's going to talk about, and I quote, it don't make sense for a 7. You got to be 18 years old to graduate. And my mom vouched for the story. They told her to her face, told her they told mom, this school told mom's pops in my face, he needs to be pushed back. Your son needs to be pushed back a grade because it don't make no sense for a 17-year-old to graduate high school. Okay.
I mean, damn near half of your 17-year-olds is at graduating ages.
Thank you.
Fuck is what they talking about? I'm so glad MCS/SCS had changed that rule to where your kid can graduate if they have the amount of credits they need. If they have, I think once they get to the allotted, I don't know if it's 24 or 36 now. I'm not sure. You probably know better than I do. But if you get to the credits, you can graduate automatically without being held back at this point. Because I've seen several times where athletes, football players, and basketball players were able to enroll in the major university after they graduate, because they have two types of graduation: the one before December and the one during the May. If they want to chill until the May, if they want to chill to May, graduate with their class, they can do that. They have the option to do either one. So right. I'm glad they changed that bullshit, man. Because I hear that.
Yeah, I'm glad too.
Because I hear that a lot from guys that come from Texas, because the Texas education system is a little bit better than a lot of states. Still, you got some shitty education systems, but they fall under that independent ISD law out here. So people could literally create their own school district without having to suck ass to another school district. But Chicago, like I say, Chicago's school system is more advanced than a lot.
Oh hell yeah! I mean, it's really, even though the problem now with Chicago schools is this: the teachers stay going on strike, but bar none, the Chicago public schools system is the best, because it's no fuck classes or nothing like that. And I think right after I left, they started doing I think what would have been my 8th grade year there. They started doing, there were certain high schools. I think by the time I was still living there, or after I left, they were getting ready to start the block schedule.
Right.
They were the first ones. They were going to do the block schedule, and it was good while it lasted, because they wanted the high schoolers to get the feel of how it's going to be in college.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, I mean, and mom's walked through past. So it's, like I said, that's what forced us to move here, because my grandfather, I'm just gonna call him that. He wanted us to move down here to, kind of help him out. And, we made the best out of the worst situation. And I think the one thing that him and Pops had in common, a parent is supposed to take their child for granted. My grandfather took my mom for granted a whole lot of times, bro. And my pops is the same way with me.
Wow.
So
with your father, man, well, I'm gonna ask you this question: how was your first day of school coming to, at the time, Memphis, now the SES school? How was your first day of school, and Did you ever talk to your dad about the first day of school in Memphis and what was his reaction?
Well, my first day of school, first day at school in Memphis, in Memphis City schools was hell.
Yeah,
I just put it was pure hell. And I talked to him about it. I just said I don't, I just told him flat out. I just said I don't, I told him. I told my mom, I was like, hey, I don't like it here. Because I was attending Hamilton Junior High, and that was like a big deal. That was like a big deal. 7th grade in junior high. And and as a kid, I rolled my eyes and had a conversation. I'm like, damn, you act like I won the lotto. That's how I was feeling at 11, going on 12. When I was in the 7th grade.
Yes, sir.
No, I was 12 in the 7th grade. Yeah. But it was hell, and I didn't enjoy it. But then I just had to, let you kill that story. Let's just say I had a tough time. I had a tough time adjusting to some folks, because to this day, you really get to see the different kids, how everybody are, how different the children that you were with, that you took class with from one city, and then the ones you had to be with the next. I met some cool people. I met some pretty good guys, made some good friends, but some of the later years, they kind of found me like be annoying and all this and that shit, and round about that time that hurt. I think the first guy I did meet, shout out to him, guy by the name of Andreas Lee, we call him Manute. Yeah, Manute, because he was built like Manute.
He played. Oh, okay, you're talking about the fraternity. Mm-hmm. Okay, go ahead, man.
Yeah, no, but he was the first guy I met, and I don't, and I kind of don't know what it changed afterwards between he and I, man, because it was just like, after him, he kind of like kept his distance on a lot of stuff, and I was like, well, damn, what the fuck, and he kind of made me mad a little bit. I mean, he was like the first dude I met, first friend I did, first guy that I met in school. He did the classic heel, did a, how's they say it in wrestling, heel turn. Turned his back on me because for what reason, I didn't know. And, that was a point in time I learned to start not trusting a few other people. And that carried on in high school. Because, the people that, the people that you grew up with and whatnot, and then turn around, that you went to school with, they go to one school, they know you from one school, and then they turn around, go to the other. I'm not going to say any names, but let's just say one of the guys I was pretty cool with, when we went from Hamilton to the South Side, and all of a sudden you want to fit in that little South Side prestige. And be honest with you, it wasn't nothing prestigious other than the basketball, as we discussed. It wasn't nothing prestigious about, in my opinion, to me, Southside. And to that day, and this is what a lot of people didn't know. I still had a hard time adjusting, and the part of me decided I wanted to go back home. I wanted to go back. I wanted to go back to Chicago. I didn't want to have nothing to do with Memphis.
And that's how it is with a lot of people from Chicago. A lot of people from Chicago, when they come to Chicago, I'm like, shit, I may as well get my ass shot up in Chicago than to stay in this motherfucking shit. I mean, at least I'm in my normal habitat. That's how a lot of people from Chicago feel. I mean, when you're born and raised in Chicago, or even if you come there when you're a teenager, you feel like that in Memphis, man, for the people that's listening from the Memphis, Tennessee area. Like I say, I love my Tigers. I love my Grizzlies. I love the Tigers basketball and football team, but you feel you feel like a hoe from goddamn Chicago. You're like, hey man, let me turn my ass back around and I'll get shot by the cops up there before I come out here. This bullshit, you feel way different when you're from Chicago going to Memphis. So it is what it is when it comes to that. Have your dad ever had to come up to the school and G-check one of the teachers? Because I'm pretty sure him being a Chicago bread man, he had to come up there and G-check a few teachers out there, man. Had that ever happened?
He had to, it like from like anytime. So you're saying like from anytime during my time in school, like junior high and high school?
High school, man, because he's a Chicago nigga. And from what you
he had to go ahead.
From what you telling me, and he a Taurus too. Come on, he had to G-check somebody out there. Him being from Chicago, Tauruses don't bite their tongue. So go ahead, brother, and answer that question.
Well, he had to G-check a student. Cause it was something. Pops came up for me. He came up to I'm trying to remember. I know he had to G-check somebody, man, because it was a dude that bumped into him. One so-called thuggish dude. I ain't gonna say his name. The dude bumped into him, didn't say excuse me. He told him, he said, he told Pops, he was like, man, watch me talking about, man, watch where the fuck you going. And Pops looked at him and said, excuse me? He gave him that long look, and then dude looked at him and was like, and he was somebody that graduated, and he was like, you heard what I said? He said, now what? He said,
man, you're going.
And he looked at me.
Can you
hear me?
Can you repeat that because you was going in and out? I'm sorry for the listener. Please repeat that. Yeah, just please repeat that.
Let me retell the story. To answer your question, yeah, he did. Okay, he G-checked the student.
Okay.
For bumping into him. Not saying told him to move his ass. Well, Pops 40 back in '96, and he was like, "What you say?" He said, "Man, you heard me, man." He said, "Man, you heard me, fool. Move your ass." He said, "Say that again." He said, "What?" And dude looked at him, and that's when his boys told him. They said, "Man, that's crazy, Dad. Man, you don't want none of that." He's, "Bro, he said, you don't want none of that, man." And then dude backed off. He said, "I apologize. My bad." He said, "Uh-huh." He said, "My bad." Because he told me about it. Oh, but he told me about it. But he had to G-check my old geometry teacher. But see, it wasn't up at the school. It was on the phone. Because I'm not gonna say who my geometry teacher's name. I'm not gonna mention any name, but he was my 12th grade geometry teacher at the time, and he called himself trying to G-check me to Pops about and I'm gonna tell you, but it was something about how I was acting in the class and stuff like that, like I don't want to learn and shit like that, and this is where the G-check came in. What pissed me, and Pops would tell me the story, and that's what I have a good memory, and I write this all down on my memoir, and I don't have it available with me to pull it up. But he said, well, he pissed me off when he said something about your son's the kind of student I just don't feel like teaching. So Pops told him, he said, wait a minute. He said, now repeat that again. I said, I'm not hard of hearing. He said, but repeat that again. He said, your son is the kind of student I don't feel like teaching. I recommend he should move to another class. He said, well, what you telling me is you just don't want to do your job.
Just like a Chicago nigga. Just like a Chicago.
He said, and Pops kind of checked him. He said, now, you seem like, he said, now you sound like, he asked him, he said, let me ask you something. He said, how old are you? And teacher told him, he said, I'm 25. He said, okay. He said, I'm 40. He said, let's see, and this back like 95. He said, 95, I'm 40. He said time he was 43. He said, you just turned 25 and I'm 43. He said, I'm old enough to be your father if I started fatherhood early. He said, I'm not going to sit up here. He said, first and foremost, he said, I'm not going to sit up here and let you talk bad, sit up here on the other end of his phone. He said, which is a good thing for you. He told me all this. He said, it's a good thing for you because if it had been, but it would have been bad for you if it was face to face. He told him that in a polite way. And he just said, I'm not going to sit up here and let you talk bad about my son and what about this and about that. And he said, now your job is to teach. He said, now how would you feel if I go up to the school and tell them exactly everything what you told me?
Wow.
And he said, you wouldn't like that, would you? He said, no, I wouldn't. And he said, and teacher's gonna come. I said, but he said, no, but he said, and Pops told me all this. He said, but they would have took your word for it over mine. Am I correct? He was like, how'd you know?
Wow.
He told, man, Pops G checked me. He said, man, so don't sit up here ever say that my son is lazy or whatever. He said, it just seemed to me, he said, well, if my son is lazy, how come he, if you say that my son is a lazy student, how come he made a B? How come he went from having a C in your class in the first 6 weeks, which I question, and then he went from a B. Matter of fact, no, I had a B the first time I was in there. He said, let me ask you this here. He said, I want you to explain to me how my son went from a B in the first 6 weeks to a C. He said, well, and the teacher told me, he said, well, you might want to ask him that. He said, no, I'm asking you. You're the teacher.
Damn.
He said, I'm asking you. You're the teacher. He said, he does his homework. He said, hey, he does his homework, come in and does his homework every day. And you gave him a C.
Yeah.
He said, so it's got to be something up with you. He said, so, but to make a long story short, Pops, when I got home, Pops, Moms wanted to know who was on the phone. See, that was Craig's geometry teacher, and she wanted to know what he want. He said, "Well, I handled it." See, this when he had stopped drinking, and Moms want to know. But I see, he said, I told your mom I handled it. He said, I know you don't feel like hearing him out. He said, so I just told him. He said, I just told him I didn't appreciate it. He said, but whatever you're doing, he said, but Pops kept long story short me. He said, well, whatever you're doing with whatever you're doing in his class, just concentrate on your schoolwork. And I told him, I said, well, yeah, and I told him, I said, well, Pop, he told me, and what made it so bad, and this was so fucking embarrassing on the geometry teacher's part.
Go ahead.
When he told me that he talked to my father, you wouldn't believe who he instead of him just having the form of tact to pull me to the side before his guest. Listen, folks, just before you get excited, he told me everything what he told to my father in front of Frank Allen. That was just so fucking embarrassing.
Yeah.
And that was embarrassing.
I agree.
And and first and foremost, I shook Frank Allen's hand and all that, and then he gonna tell me I didn't need to shake Frank's hand. That's showing respect. Frank Allen graduated from Southside. Frank Allen played at Murray State.
Yeah.
But for him to embarrass, and I was angry with him all that whole day, man, with my teacher. I gonna say his initials, BW, but his real name starts with R. Yeah, and he embarrassed me in front of it. So when I told Pops about it, I said, yeah, he told me you talked to him. I said, now what he told me, he said, now what you told me, what he said was entirely different. I said, then he embarrassed me in front of Frank Allen. And, and Pops wanted to go up to the school. He said, no, he said, you know what? He said, I'm just gonna leave it alone. He said, but Yeah, but yeah, to answer your question, it was long drawn out. Yeah, he G checked the student and he G checked the teacher. So yeah,
I'm pretty sure because A is from South Memphis, and B, I mean that's not uncommon because a lot of South Side schools on the South Side, that's very common. Carver when it was open, South Side when it was open, Hamilton. Even though the Hamilton teachers is a tad bit better, but not much better, they're a tad bit better. And I say a tad bit, but that's very common out there in South Memphis. And then him being a Chicago guy, I could just feel that temperament. And then he's already a Taurus, so he's already even tempered anyway, because that's what Taurus people are.
And you want to, but hold on for you. But you want to know what the funny part about it is? What my geometry teacher is.
What about a geometry teacher? What was the funny part about that clown?
He from South Memphis.
You say he from South Memphis?
Yeah, he from he was born and raised South. He was born and raised South. He was born and raised South Memphis. Then he lived in Whitehaven, and then he graduated college. He graduated from, I believe, from Howard University and shit like that. And then he came back to teach.
Well, he should have stayed his ass in Washington, D.C., goddammit. I'm just going to be honest with you. Maybe he would have turned out better, and maybe he would have thought twice about what the fuck he was saying.
Yeah, but you're going to G-check, but see, that was one thing about with my pops when he was sober. You couldn't, man, even the sober then during his last years.
Uh-huh.
You couldn't G-check that, man.
I'm pretty sure of that. I am pretty sure of that.
Man.
Yeah. How did your dad feel when you graduated from high school? How was his feeling towards that?
He was proud, man. He was proud. I think probably like one of the coolest. Tell you this funny story. In Southside graduating, they wanted to be strict and professional, and Mom's told me this story too. She said when everybody was coming in, they gonna tell everybody, and I quote, please hold your applause after the student's name is called, and refrain from taking pictures when they are walking down from the when they're exiting the stage with the diploma. Okay. Yes. So all the teachers was like, oh, fuck that shit. No, not all the teachers. Some of the parents like, oh, fuck that shit. So when they were calling names, so, they got the clapping and everything, and the parents that was there at the graduation, they basically was telling all the admins and shit, talking about, so please hold your applause, and everybody like, F you, shit, we gonna clap anyway. So everybody was clapping and stuff like that, when I didn't have a whole lot of family members come. It was just moms and pops and a friend and a couple of friends of theirs. They came, and when my name got called, they said Craig Leonard. They said Craig Leonard Smith II. So when they jumped up, he jumped up and he was like, yeah. So when I got off the stage, when I was on the stage, when I got off the stage, I did the fist.
Yes, sir.
In the spin Olympics.
Yeah.
In the spin Olympics.
Yeah.
Man, he did it too, and it was several other parents behind him. Even the mama, even someone's mama got up and did the same thing. And then one of the admins come talking about some, don't be doing none of that. Don't be doing that. Don't be doing that on here. So don't be doing all that. But backstage, man, when they were taking all the pictures and stuff like that, Pops, he met my teacher. Now I had a cool algebra teacher. Now he relocated to Vegas, as to my understanding. met him twice. Great guy and stuff like that. Met Pops twice. Even some of my classmates met him, and one girl thought, and one girl she was joking. One girl was talking about some Craig. I thought you didn't have brothers. No, this is my Pops. She's like, "Oh, Craig, this your daddy?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah," and she hugged Pops. She's like, "Oh, okay." He's like, we go and get a picture around. Let me go and get a picture. And then one of my friends I took a picture with, shout out to her, by the way, Keisha Brooks. That's good, my good buddy of mine. We've been cool since 11th grade. I even took a picture with her. And I guess the boyfriend she was with at the time kind of looked at Pops up and down, and Pops kind of looked at him up and down. He's like, "Problem? Nah." Like, okay. He's like, "Problem?" That's why I said he kind of looked at him like, "Problem? No." Okay. And Pops was taking the pictures and everything, but yeah, he was proud. Yeah, he was proud of me, and he told me these piece of advice after we got home. He said, "Well, now you graduated high school." He said, "I'm going to leave you this." He said, "Now the real fun begins." So I had to figure out what I wanted to do.
That's true. That is absolutely true. The real fun begins because a month after I graduated from high school, man, I felt that I couldn't feel nothing but my pants legs in my pocket and feeling broke as hell. Like, man, I gotta go get me a job. So with that,
Mm-hmm.
from my understanding, you went to the military.
Mm-hmm.
What was his advice on going to the military? Was he encouraging about going to the military, or he was kind of like hesitant about you going to the military? What was his point of view about you going to the military and making that decision to go to the military?
It was both, but he wanted me. When he found out I joined the Army National Guard, he was disappointed about that because he said, you won't want to join the National Guard. He said, "Nah, you could have joined." He said, now he advised me about it. He had said he admitted he would have rather for me if I had went to Air Force, but
Right.
because Air Force is a little bit much easier. I could have met, was a little bit easier and stuff like that. But with the Army National Guard, because he said, and probably in the Air Force's training is a little bit more relaxed. It's a little bit more relaxed, and he said, and they'll work with you. He said, Marines. He said, Navy. He said, I know you. He said, I know Navy. They're gonna want you to swim. You're gonna be. He said, take somebody I know about that. You're gonna be sleep deprived for a while, and you're gonna be in the water. You're gonna be in the water on most days. So you don't want to deal with the Navy. He said, Marines. They'll demoralize. They'll dehumanize you, and which he's right, and they still do it to this day.
That's true.
The drill sergeants, they'll dehumanize you, and they'll dehumanize you and do all this and mess up your, and they'll break your spirit,
Yeah.
because I've heard some of the horror stories, man. Like one guy was a real good natured guy. He came home just, he was just like, fuck, so, but he was, but he told me that I was taking a big step, in regards to that. And he was proud. Like I said, he was disappointed I chose the Army National Guard, but then again, he was proud because he said, now you can get money for college and stuff like that, and then the benefits and everything. And I saw what he was talking about. I mean, shit. I mean, hey, VA paid for my college. VA paid for my college a couple times. They paid for the one I graduated 2 years ago. I was getting a check from that, man. Boy, did that come handy, But yeah, he was proud, and he also was like, he wished that I would went regular, but he understood why I didn't decide to go regular Army. My mind, my mindset was just like, hey, I just want to do what I want to do and just come home. And that rule still applies to me to this day. I don't want to be told what to do, how I need to wash my ass, And now that's the one thing. And if you are in the service, you basing on military time. They're gonna tell you when you need to go to sleep. They're gonna tell you when you need to take a piss. They're gonna tell you when you know. I'm just saying hypothetical in general. Don't be surprised to tell you how you need school, tell you how you need to wash your ass and whatnot, this and that, and whatever. I didn't want to be. I didn't want to be part in that shit.
I feel you on that one. I definitely feel you on that one.
And I'm proud to say that I've been a veteran of the service for 16 years now. I've been out since 2003. Because I told you a story about that when they was when everybody in the Guard was trying to get folks to re-enlist, and months later they sent everybody to Afghanistan for 2 years.
Wow, that's quite interesting. Another question is, how was your relationship with him once you got out of the service? How was that? How was y'all relationship when y'all got out of the service?
It was pretty. I mean, well, when I got out, it was pretty much the same. And then, like years later, and then I think, like, as I talked about on Let's Draw on Something More, that really, it really was the last good relationship we did have. We really did have a pretty good relationship. Some things I didn't like what he did, because he was making money doing the paint thing. And I still think when I talked about Let's Draw on the old episode, Let's Draw on Something More, about how he was with his work group. When I first worked with him, it deteriorated after I got out of service.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna go ahead and say it. He got busted by me. Let's put it like this. He got busted by me on something, and he really got the grandest G check of all for moms in that regard. If you know what I'm hinting about,
you don't got to be too personal, but I'm just saying.
But you got what I was saying. He
Yeah,
got busted on something. He got busted on something by me, and then when moms found out about it, he had got the biggest G check of all time.
Yeah.
In that, so I'm gonna leave that'll be in my book, in detail in my book. So, but yeah, like I said, it was good. But then, like when I got back, I started noticing some like I said, like some changes in his behavior with stuff what was going on. And he was smoking, and I think this was around about the time when he went to in 2004. He found out late 2004. This is when he found out he had throat cancer for all them years smoking.
Right.
And working with him, and like I said, some of the folks I fought, and I say this sometime I think I'm a little to borrow one of his quotes. Well, that seemed like a personal problem to me. I'll admit a personal problem that I have with myself is I sometimes have a hard time forgiving people. Because the minute you forgive somebody, when you forgive somebody plenty of times, when you forgive them one time, that's supposed to be it. They're not going to do, you would expect for them not to do it again. And they turn around and they'll still bite you in the ass. Right. I can say, my father had he had some real major character flaws. Like for one, he lied a lot. And, and you always hear Bruce always say that women are better liars than men.
Uh-huh.
Okay, at times, father, he lied, he lied to me a lot. And, from time when I was as a child and then teenagers and stuff till now, he lied a lot. And sometimes I wouldn't, sometimes I'd be hit. At times I never heeded his advice on a lot of things. Sometimes I did, and sometimes I didn't. And for people that did know my father, never ask that man advice in regards to money, because he would tell you how to fuck off your money for his benefit and for your benefit. And that's straight. That's a straight up fact. I'm not saying nothing bad about him, but Month can tell you too. And he was the kind of person that if your interest didn't coincide with his, he ain't fuck with
Damn.
you. You know, that's how he was. I mean, I'm not being mean about it. I'm just he did have some good qualities about himself. I mean, he did. Because I know it's more lines about, his relationship questions with, from you about how our relationship was further after the cancer and stuff like that. He does have some good qualities. I stated in the speech at my funeral, I said, hey, at times he was a hard, sometimes he made you want to kick his ass. But I just say that in the church. Sometimes he made you want to put your foot somewhere where it needed to go. I said but sometimes he was a hard dude you had to love, because it's just but the one thing I do recall, and I always tell people this, and I said this on your show, on my show. He said if you gotta give a motherfucker an excuse for your actions, for what you do. No, I'm worded wrong. I'm sorry. Spoiler alert. He said, if you find yourself in a position where you got to explain somebody something, don't do it. He said, cause when you explain yourself to somebody, you giving them an excuse.
Exactly.
You give them a reason. A reason is more, he said, a reason is more valid than the explanation.
Yeah.
And that was some real shit,
Yeah.
Because like at my job, talking about my last job, talking about, well, I want you to explain to me why. I said, well, let me, and I told the guy, I said, well, let me put you in check on that. I don't explain myself to nobody. I said, I will give you a reason. Well, what's your reason? And when I told what the reason was, he said, okay, fair enough. But then if you explain something, when you have to give somebody an explanation, what's the one thing they would say? Oh, well, that's understandable, but it's no excuse. That's no excuse.
Yeah.
And that's why, and that's why Pops always told me that. Don't explain yourself to nobody, because you're giving them an excuse. You give them a reason.
Exactly.
That way they can shut the fuck up and keep going.
I agree. Totally agree with that. With that assessment. What are some of the life lessons he taught you, and what can listeners learn from your father?
Not everybody is perfect. I could say, whereas some listeners, I'm pretty sure their fathers were never in their lives. In mine, but if you are a father, look, and if you got a small child or whatever, spend time with them, even when they're coming up as a teenager, even when they're about to turn 18. Spend time with your child. Spending time, time is a luxury, not a necessity. Okay. I was, I can say that I was fortunate to have my father in my life. But then again, and then other times, and there were plenty of times that he would let me down. He was never home. Sometimes he was never home when he was supposed to be, and I always made a little running joke about the only time that my pops would ever come home was when my mom's got her money in the first of the month. That was about it. But it was a statement that ended up being true. Just be supportive of your children. And like I said, the one thing that he did do, the one thing that he was not supposed to have done with me was, other than listening to total strangers tell him what to do in regards to me. And these are ones that's about Jimmy's age and everybody else's age below and up. Tell him what to do in regards to me when they ain't got children. Don't never let nobody tell you if you're a father, well, parent in general, and mothers you're counted to. If you're a mother or father, don't let somebody else tell you what to do with your child if they don't have none of they self. If they don't have none of their own. And I mean, there were a bunch of life lessons I can say he has taught me, but he has taught, but I kind of taught myself, hey, don't leave, don't, you know, don't own up to your responsibilities.
Wow.
You know, but maybe I can say this on a personal standpoint. I mean, he was the kind of dude that he never wanted to face the consequences for his actions. And you know, Lord knows he was bucking for a lot of them consequences. So I mean, you know, that was his way of saying, hey, you fucked up, own up to your responsibility. And that, you know, that's really was a main life lesson right then and there. And always stand up for your children.
That's true. Definitely.
You know, and like I said on the Let's Draw on Something More episode, you know, I was disappointed that, you know, he you know, like he said, he let outsiders interfere in our relationship. And you know, and it was a lot of change for worse through the years because he started listening to the wrong people. Shit. Threw me under the bus on a lot of shit. And, you know, and there was one time, I mean, I told this story before, how he did my cousin from Chicago when they came down here, as far as the breakfast did, you know, that was some fuck nigga shit he did there. I didn't appreciate that. You know, I let him know about that, you know, and you know, his mindset was like, I don't care. You know,
Yeah.
I just think the best way to do his, like, the life lessons he taught me was, don't make the same mistakes I do. Don't be a fuck nigga like I do. You know, because that's why I just said, because like a lot of people tell me, you ain't nothing like his old man, as Eric Richardson said. I called him out. Man, your ass ain't nothing like your daddy. I just told him, I said, yeah, you right. I said, yeah, you right. I said, I said, I'm better than my father. I said, I'm put it like this. I said, I'm better than my father than he is now. In fact, when he was my age, I'm better than him. I was better than him because I was like 30. I think I was 30. I think I was 32. And I told Eric this shit. I said, hold on. I said, when Pops was 32 years old, when Pops was my age, I was better than him then, and I'm better than him now.
And that's the way
So,
you're supposed to be, better than your. And that's what most parents, who sensible parents, supposed to be. They, you know, the parents' goal is supposed to be make your child better than you, and when you was older. I mean, when you was younger. So it is what it is when it comes to that, man. Definitely. Got anything else on that as well?
would you ask more questions? Or?
Uh, uh, I actually had one more questions. Did your dad was the one who put you on at FedEx? Uh, was he the one to put you on at FedEx, or you put yourself on at FedEx? Let me ask you that question.
I put myself on because at a time I was disappointed. I was disillusioned when I was working for their competition. I was disillusioned by a lot of things. So he was the one that told me about it. And you know, when I came out there, I mean, totally different breed of cat. And it was just wow. You know, Fed was a totally different breed of cat, man, when I started working out there. People were different. You know, people were different. It was just like, okay, see how this goes. I mean, I'm glad. Hey, I was glad that I was surprised myself that I lasted 14 years out there when I left in 2015 to enjoy my then married life.
Wow. And was your dad alive when you was married, or he passed away a little bit after that? Am I correct in that assessment?
He passed away in my second year of marriage.
Okay, and
11 go ahead.
what was his view on you being married? Was he happy, or did he give you any warnings about your ex? I mean, what was the deal with that?
Well, he was shocked. He was shocked. And on the other hand, I'm gonna say this here: Taurus and Cancers are the intellectual equivalent. He was like you in some regards when you was questioning me about it. What the fuck was I thinking? But
Oh man, yeah.
you know, he was shocked about it. He said, "Hey, I'm happy for my son, but and then later on, he confided to me that he said, "Man, what are you thinking?" He gave me some advice on how to that time how to handle my ex. He said, you got to watch that because when I told him about this little arrangement that she had with her son's father, he said, son, let me tell you something. If you were by somebody else when I met your mom and she came to me with that arrangement, I would have left her.
That's him. That's a damn Taurus.
He said, I would have left. He said, no, I'm serious. He said, you laughing. I said, I'm laughing because I knew that's what you were going to say. He said, I'm telling he said, yeah, I'm telling the truth. He said, ain't no fucking way in the hell I'm going to still be cool with the son's dad whose name probably ain't on his goddamn, this is what he said, whose name ain't probably on his goddamn son's birth certificate. And you still gonna fuck around with him and he's married. And turn around, he fucked up. And this is how he said, and turn around and popped them rounds in him while he was married to his wife now. He said, hell no. He said, no. He said, no, that. He said, it should have been a clear understanding. Hey, son grown. I'm like this here. He said, I can understand if the boy 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, that's fine and good. He said, but if he walking around with his dick harder than you, he said, if that boy walking around y'all house with his dick harder than Chinese fucking checkers, then it's time for his ass to go.
Exactly.
That's what he said. And that's what he said. But if I was still married and he was still alive, he probably wouldn't have been too fond of my ex-wife. But yeah, he was alive when I married her in 2015, and I was still married to her when he died 11 days for my birthday 2 years ago.
Well, we had somebody trolling in the chat room. Well, let me tell you something.
What did he say?
He said it's a massively low chat room. Let me tell you something. Fear the Yeti. I think you're the guy that came on one of my old streams from last year when I was clowning your favorite dick in the booty ass dude, Keyboard Coon. Get your ass up out this motherfucker. This is my boy talking about his life story, ho. Dude, how the fuck you gonna come with an avatar trying to debate me? Bitch, I will run your ass through the ringer. Now come back with another avatar so I can fire your dick in the booty ass up again. How the fuck you gonna come to my channel with a fucking avatar? I bet your channel only got 1 subscriber to that hoe. I got 235 subscribers. Fuck you, Fear the Yeti, and fuck your mama. And I hope your daddy got fucked by antenna hoe. That's all I got.
Now go on. Yeah, you about to ask me something.
Yeah, I apologize for that in particular because I don't get, I say what the hell I want to say, but this is a goddamn dedication show, and I'm not gonna let nobody disrespect this your moment about talking about your daddy. But anyway, with your father, did y'all ever get along during his last days? Did y'all ever mend a lot of the problems that y'all had during his last days, man? And if you did, and if you didn't, did you wish you could have mended that situation during your last days?
I'm gonna be honest. Uh, I told everybody we did mend fences, but I think he kind of really made peace with me. Because when I got that last phone call from him on September 30th, 2017, he was sounding just like it is. He was sounding cheerful, stuff like that. And I remember what I was doing that day. I was getting ready. I was driving my car. I was getting ready to head to Michael's because I was doing our commission. I was getting ready to head to Michael's, and I was gonna stop at Taco Bell. So we were talking, and I told him I was gonna get something to eat. I said, I'm probably gonna get something at Taco Bell. He said, you must got some alcohol at the house. Because I said, yeah. I said, yeah. I said, because I'm gonna have my tacos and my beer, so I'll be straight. He said, oh, okay. He said, yeah, I've been sitting here because he was still at the VA hospital. He said, yeah, I was sitting here watching a couple of games here, man, and I had to turn away from one. He said, I just got to say I was getting sick of the ass just by watching it. So he said, but all right, man. He said, I was just calling to check on you. He said, because I thought you was up here. Well, when you gonna be coming? And he asked me, when was I gonna be coming back? When was I gonna be coming back up there? I said, well, I'm coming up there on my birthday. I said, that's what I plan on doing. And maybe I don't. And I said, maybe I won't have to spend money on myself if you supposed to be treating me. He said, well, yeah. He said, well, if I have some money, you ain't gonna have to worry about spending none. He said, I got you. I said, okay. So, so 3rd October, a little bit after 4 o'clock that morning, that's when I got the phone call. And God, well, I said, God damn. You know, I didn't cry. I was just like, I was just at a loss. But yeah, we didn't talk, but we didn't talk to each other before I got married. And I was in a relationship with someone else then before I got married. We really were on the outs on a lot of shit. We was really on the outs because he borrowed money from me on a lot of stuff, and he never paid back. And he called himself being pissed off with me when I got my car. Because keep in mind, I did a book. I got a payoff for doing a book for a comic book company. I'm not gonna say who they are. So the payoff was enough to help put down for me to have a car to ride in, because I got tired of walking back and forth from State Line to catch the bus just at the Job Corps on Mill Branch, catching the bus so I can get to FedEx, and then trying to catch a bus to get back home and then had to walk about a good 30 minutes to where I was living in South Haven. So he got pissed that I went out and bought a car, and he gonna tell me, you should have gave us half of that. Should have gave us most of the other money and kept the other half of your coffee. So I'm like, talking about you supposed to give back because we was the one there. I said, no, you didn't. I'm like, how you figure? I said, this was my, and I had to G check him. I said, Pop, you tend to forget. You stayed hating on my talent for the longest, and the reason being was my talent wasn't giving you profit. My talent, I said, the only person that's a sole possession of this talent is me, and it's a God-given talent. First and foremost, as a matter of fact, this is a God-given talent. What I look like giving you all the fruits of my fucking labor for, then you come up to my face talking about you need some more money. So no, I had to do what I had to do. So hey, got to take care of him. I said, hey, the fruits of my labor are not meant to be enjoyed by somebody else. I mean, you're retired, and he made me mad about this shit because I said, man, you retired. I said, it shouldn't make no sense for you to have your money in on the first and be broke by the second. Come on now.
I feel you on that one.
And he kind of told some other folks about that shit. And I wasn't too fond about that. And then, well, that was the last time because we had a very sporadic relationship. It was like, it's like Our relationship was like the guy that you can't stand to work with, but you got to.
That's how you felt? Damn, what? Damn.
That's how it was during that time. But after I got married, he started being more sensible. But before, yeah, that's how it was before I got married. That's how our father-son relationship was. Sometimes he was supportive about a lot of shit, then other times he wasn't, because he wasn't fooling me. And he would always go out the way for other folks, but would never go out the way for me. And there was one point in time, and I really embarrassed him. And I said, Pop, the only time you ever want to be bothered with me is when your ass wants something. I said, that's it. I said, other than that, I said, man, and you'll cater to everybody else. He said, well, yeah, you know what? Well, you damn right I do. He said that. And when he said these words, Jimmy, I'll never forget. He's like, well, you damn right I do. He said, that's why I'm a street nigga. I said, oh, okay. I said, well, I tell you what, you be with your street niggas then. I'll holler at you.
Wow.
Yep. And this was back in 2011, 2012. I said, because he retired in 2012. He had to. And the last flight he worked on at FedEx was the EWR flight at night over there at secondary 2216, whichever one it was. Great group of people, man. They looked out for Pops. Both of them slides were EWR. That was a great group of people, man. I still appreciate them to this day for with that. But when he started hanging around that wrong crowd back again after he retired, when he boldly said, well, yeah, I'm a street nigga. Okay, well, you know what? I tell you what, since you a street nigga, holla at you. And but in the span of it, yeah. If you ever seen the movie Fences,
yeah.
Okay, our relationship was like Denzel and the son character on there.
Yeah.
Because Denzel, what you call it in Fences, when Denzel did fucked over his son from getting a college scholarship and all that shit. That's how my pops was. That's how he was later, during some later in the later years. When he was sick and just out here fucking up, trying to impress the wrong people, hang around the wrong crowd and shit. So, but like I said, when I got married, a lot of things changed, or so I thought. Cause when I graduated college back in 2017, he kept talking about yeah, we're gonna try to get up there to Huntsville, so you see you graduating. That way I can finally get a chance to get that way I can finally get the chance to get to know your wife. I said, oh, okay. And my ex-wife at the time was looking forward to it. So when moms called me and told me they weren't gonna be able to come up there, I said, well, how come? And she had a long pause. I knew she was getting ready to tell a lie. I said, tell the truth. So, and I told her, I said, tell the truth. Said he had the money, he fucked it off somewhere else, didn't take his advice. Cause at the time he was driving the Buick Century he had just bought. And I just told him, I said, well, Pop, I said, if you don't feel comfortable driving your car 3 hours from South Haven to Huntsville, just rent one. Yeah. Just rent one and get somebody to pick you up. Drop y'all off back at the house. So from what was said, on the day I graduated, and they, moms was more pissed off with him, and was more pissed with him. They fucked off, the money got fucked off on some shit, on some bullshit. And on the day I graduated, he was hanging with his friends and shit. and said he didn't know anything about the graduation until I shared it on Facebook about about 2 days later.
Uh-huh. Right.
So, again, I was disappointed. They probably saying, Craig, you acting like a child on that one. No, I mean, your son graduated college for the first time, and you didn't bother making an attempt to come up here to see it.
Wow.
So at the time, we'll know what I did when we went home after I graduated, ex-wife and I, we got in the car. We went to Applebee's. That's how I celebrated my graduation. We went to, my after graduation dinner. We went a little after party. We went to Applebee's. I had my beer and wings, and went home. And that was it. So, and I didn't talk to him for a week about that after that. So I was just like, well, okay. And then he muscled up and then that's when he finally told me. He was like, well, money was running kind of funny. So I said, Pop, I already know where the money went. I said, I already know where you were on the day I graduated. You was hanging down with your little cronies, as Mom said. That hanging down with them was more important than seeing me graduate college. I said, but that's okay. I said, but that's okay. I said, that's okay. You had a chance to see your son walk across the stage again when he graduated college, and you didn't.
What did you get your what did you get your degree in, to be exact? And hold on, hold on, because we got a troll in here. He thumbs down the video, dude. And I'm not trying to stop your shine, but my dude, you must really like dick up your ass to where you just got to come with 1,000 different troll accounts talking about a black man with an 800 SAT score to go to college. I'm like, dude, what kind of troll is you, ho? You a whole ho, and you talking about you want to debate me, and you doing all this goddamn trolling, dude. Man, get your ass about my chat room, dude. So, but please, I just hate trolls, man. That's one thing. I'm the troll destroyer. That's why he doing all this trolling. He coming from 5 or 6, 7 different accounts, man. But please continue, brother.
Network technician.
Network technician. Okay.
So, I'm putting in a little bit of good use with me working with a cable company from beyond. I gave you the name of that. So, yeah, I'm putting it to good use. I just want to so I can be a certified network technician. I would still do my art on the side, and hey, and I'm gonna say this here. I'm debating about going back to school again, and for the art field. I'm probably full sail and see if I can do that. But with the way how my job works, that's gonna be more on hold for right now. So
I feel you on that one.
Yep.
Yeah. But I'm gonna do a special roast for this dude because he keep on coming from different accounts. But definitely rest in peace to your father. I'm gonna do a special live stream that's particularly gonna be on myself, and I'm gonna give this dude a chance to show his whole ass face. You know what I'm saying? So if he can't show his face, then pretty much I ain't got nothing to say to him. So I'm gonna give this dude his chances. If he can't come on live to show his face, then I ain't gonna fuck with him. But man, definitely rest in peace to your dad, and much respect to the family. Much respect to brother Wesley, your uncle Wesley, I should say. So once again, man, this your boy. You got anything else you want to say before you leave the live stream?
No, I mean, because I hope everyone enjoyed the show, and Because I felt like I had had to put that story out there. Hey, had he, who knows how things would have been for Pops, if had he been alive. Because he was 65 years old when he passed. Liver cancer and stuff like that. I will admit, as the up and down relationship that we did have, a part of me is still angry, with his passing. But on the other hand, like everybody was, however, people tell me, he said, well, Craig, hey, God has his reasons for taking, God has his reasons for calling people home. And maybe it was his time to, maybe it was your dad's time to be called home finally. And him and and just know this, him and your uncle, his brother, they holding it down up there. Who knows what, like they say, who knows what, your uncle probably run the numbers for the big man himself up there. Who knows?
Most definitely. Most definitely, man.
But yeah, I mean, but most times, I don't miss his ass nagging because most of the time I would ignore him, tell me about what I need to do this and about that, and he was very, he and he was very petty about a lot of shit. He'll have the most ratchetest hood rat beat as far as the petty game. That's how petty he was.
I feel you.
There's nothing bad, but yeah, but I hope everybody, enjoys the show. And let me tell you something, if you thumb down the video, go fuck yourself. And you're talking about this 800 SAT score. Man, let me tell you something. I was in high school when they was basically forcing us to this ACT curriculum and all this other little shit. I didn't need to study, and I pissed a lot of teachers off. I know I pissed my geometry teacher off one time. You need to learn. I don't need to do shit because I don't know what the highest score you can get on the ACT, but I do remember my score. My score was a 27.
Yeah, this dude is he's just trolling. He mad because I ethered him, and like I say, dudes like that come in the middle of the middle of the night, just trolling. I mean, I'm gonna give him his shine for 30 minutes. If he ain't got nothing to say, then he gonna be up out of here. But anyway, man, if you ain't got nothing else to say, man, once again, this your boy, live and direct in full effect out the 832 with my homeboy out the 662, and y'all already know how both of us do, man. Y'all have a good day and y'all enjoy yourselves.